Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 489. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and talk about the books we read this week. Coming up on today's show, we have Absolute Batman Arkham Special, Issue 1. We have Absolute Superman 15, Batman Issue 5, Absolute Green Lantern Issue 10, Batgirl 15, Cheetah in Cheshire, Robbed the Justice League Issue 6, Matt read Poison Ivy 40. At least I assume he did. He didn't tell me, but I made a leap.
I did.
We got GSA Issue 15. We got Adventures of Superman, The Book of L, Issue 5, and Batman Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia, Issue 2 to round out things. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week. I almost read a Patreon book as well, but I kind of said, there's a lot of books. And now that I've checked the next couple of weeks, I'm glad I didn't, because the next couple of weeks are very quiet for books, bizarrely. I guess some stuff has ended, and then like new stuff's not starting until February, March, so the middle of January is actually very, very slow. So I'm glad I've left most of my extras for those 2 weeks to take up time there.
Smart move.
Yeah, so hey, happy accents and all that. But yes, so we got all that stuff to talk about. There's a little bit of news, not much though. But this is the first episode technically of the new year. The annual episode is coming. In fact, I should probably say this up front. And I'll try and remember and put the link in the description of the episode. But the voting form for the audience votes of the best books of 2025, best writers, best artists, and the worst thing that happened to DC in 2025, that form is out. I posted it on the Comics Room in the Discord. I posted it on the Comics from the Multiverse YouTube channel in the post section. I've also posted it on Patreon. If you're on Patreon, you can see it there as well. I'll try and put the link in the description, but that is out. There's no definitive, deadline to fill that in, but just do it at your leisure on the sooner side. You may have about another week or so until we record the annual episode, the special end of year kind of award show that we do every year. But that form is out for you to fill in. I've already had some entries. I've been kind of tallying up what's come in so far. It's interesting seeing how the order's changing as each new person puts in their top tens and whatnot. But so go check out that form and fill it in if you'd like. But that's up now, so that's coming soon. Anyway, Happy New Year, Matt. 2026 off to a good start for you, is it?
Personally, yes. In the place in which I live, no. It's nothing like a constant sense of anxiety and dread, but hey, that's why I read comic books with superheroes in them. Because there's a happy ending lined up somewhere, hopefully.
Yeah, it's been the events of the world are a little bit stressful so far in 2026, I have to admit. But
that said, I used our week off last week with no books to watch some movies. I watched F1, which I don't care about racing whatsoever. It's the one sport I really don't care about. But you put it in a movie form and you explain the rules to me as they're happening, and I get very invested in those stupid races.
I mean, that's every sports movie to me, because I don't like any sports.
Yeah. So, it's very funny in that, the Top Gun Days of Thunder. This is like Top Gun Maverick and F1 now. It's just funny how much they complement each other.
Well, it's the same director, so he's just copied and pasted his script over.
Right. Well, and wasn't that the same with Top Gun and Days of Thunder?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was Tony Scott again, and it was a very similar story. It was, although I'm on the minority that thinks Days of Thunder is the better movie of the two, but I mean, maybe I'm just a weirdo.
Yeah. So I watched that. I watched Together, the Alison Brie, Dave Franco movie.
It's just okay. It's.
Oh, I don't do well with body horror, and there were some spooky elements in there that got me a couple times. I was also watching it by myself as my wife was violently ill with a cold. So a little bit of extra on edge watching there. A lot, so I liked it though. I liked where it went. It was quite got me to jump a couple times. I
think I had potential, but the characters were just a little too insufferable, honestly, at a certain point for me to care about.
Yes.
So no.
But yeah,
didn't love
I'm
it.
trying to think what else I watched. Oh, and I watched Begonia. We Yorgos, not for me, man. Although I will say, out of all his movies I've seen, I think Begonia was the strongest. And by that means it's the one I probably say I like the most.
You're saying a lot of things to me that's not computing right now. I'm really judging your taste at the moment, because Poor Things.
Oh, you should know this by now.
Poor Things is phenomenal. Begonia's good, but Save the Green Planet's a little bit better. So I feel kind of weird about it. Like it's really good, but it's, you know. Yeah,
having no relationship to the story and then finding out that it was a remake of Save the Green Planet, which is from Korea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely, I really think that Emma Stone is the actress of this generation. And it's weird that Plemons, who's the guy that started on Friday Night Lights and was the meth guy on Breaking Bad in the later seasons, has become one of the better actors of the generation.
I think it's funny that you always find ways to bring up Friday Night Lights, and it's a TV show that no one else cares about or remembers.
Well, because that is where a lot of time, that's where I run into these actors first, you know. Kyle Chandler, right? Love him. Anyways, the fact that he's become one of the preeminent actors is crazy to me. Because he was like second banana comic relief kind of character on Friday Night Lights, and then he was very scary on Breaking Bad. Like, so shouldn't be that surprised, but it still just kills me that's where his career has gone, because he's very good in Begonia. Like, he matches Emma Stone so well in there. Like, they are complementary figures. But yeah. I don't know. I just, like, every so often I'll see a rating from you on Letterboxd, and either it's like absurdly high for a movie that was really mediocre, or it's absurdly low for a movie that's really great, and judgments come your way. We were looking for something to watch last night that we didn't have to really pay attention to, so that usually means something we've seen a bunch before. And I almost put it on Twisters, and I remember what Connor had messaged me a little while ago, going, "You giving that 5 stars is up there with Kong Skull Island, bud." So it's good to know that I have a brand. He also said it was the most Matt movie he's ever watched, which I take as a badge of honor. I don't think he meant it as a compliment.
I don't think he did. No, I think he meant it as like this is like the proof that will be given one day in court as to why you deserve to be behind bars.
Yeah, or at least put into the, you know, in some assisted living somewhere when my brain finally does break. You know, which, given the state of 2026 already, could be the end of the year. So just you know, just promise me Glenn Powell and we'll be good. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another one you overrated. Was that Running Man remake? Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I went back and I fixed it because I thought about it, Pete.
Yeah. Okay.
And now I don't immediately rate things after the theater. You know, I wait. At home, a little bit more. I can rate right then and there. The movies, I try to give it a little bit of time. Let's sit and think about it. You know,
jumped the gun a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, a little? That's a lot.
Oh dear. No. I mean, I think what I'll say about having the week off last week, because there was no books out, and this happens every so often now with like a week 5 where there's like just 2 books out, so we'll just, you know what, we'll just roll them into the next episode and we'll have the week off. I think there is a nice thing to having the 1 week off every once in a while, where like just sitting down to read comics today, I was more excited to read comics because I hadn't read any in 2 weeks, you know, versus usually being weekly. So it's nice to just get a little break from something, even if it's something you typically really like doing. It's like, no, just you miss it a little bit and then you come back refreshed.
Sometimes it feels like an obligation, and when that's pulling away, you realize that it's not. You realize that we do this because we like comics, you know, and sometimes it is a grind. Sometimes they're putting out things that we're not being forced to read, right? Because we mainly read things we want to read. But, you know, the fact that it helped that it was a bunch of books this week that I genuinely like, you know, like Batgirl and The Absolute Line and that type of stuff, that goes a long way too.
Yes. Anyway, I guess we'll get into things, shall we? Get started on the first episode properly for the year. So we'll start with the Kindle rankings, formerly known as the ComiXology Top 10, just looking at how the books are ranked on the Kindle store as of now at the time of recording. Matt, what do you think number 1 is?
Well, there was a bunch of Absolute books that came out. Let me see. I don't think there's anything that Marvel put out that might top it, but I'm looking. There might be some weird thing that came out that I missed. That said, I'm going to go with my gut and say Batman Arkham was number 1.
That is indeed number 1. Batman Arkham is number 1 right now. Number 2 is Batman. So that's, Batman sells.
Hey?
As you do. Number 3 is Absolute Superman. Number 4 is Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Zord Quest. Which is a trade, I think. I don't think that's even a single issue. That's like a $7.99 book. Or maybe it's a special or something. Like an oversized special.
I'm looking at League of Comic Geeks, and so far I have not seen it on the single comics. So maybe it was a... Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's far, far down.
Yeah,
so,
but
I think
always,
it's just a
you always say this about issue 1's League of Comic Geeks, and every time I remind you that the issue 1s, are, especially one-shots, are always really far down because they're not something people have pulled automatically to go into their pull lists.
Yeah, it's only a 40-page thing, too. So,
it's twice the
cool.
price of most other books, so I guess that is somewhat reasonable-ish, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, number 5 is Night Fight issue 3, which the patrons did not make us read. I'm astonished to say. I'm less excited to say that they're going to make us read Joker versus Red Hood from last month, but we're not doing that this week. We'll get to that next time. So that's number 5. Number 6 is X-Men. Number 7 is Absolute Green Lantern. Number 8 is Ultimate Wolverine. Number 9 is Amazing Spider-Man. And number 10 is JSA. So, fairly DC heavy. One of those 6 DC books in the top 10. All 3 Absolute books get in there. So that's that. Just outside the top 10, the Arcadia books at number 11. Cheetah and Cheshire's at number 14. Batgirl's at 20. And is that all the bigger ones? Oh, Poison Ivy's down at, what's that, 36? So I had to really think about all the rows there, because these aren't actually numbered on the screen. I'm just mentally giving them the numbers as I'm looking at them. So that one took a little bit. As
you break down the grid, yeah. So I will say that, like, sometimes I feel like I'm the only person reading Poison Ivy. Like, I don't see people talking about it that much. Yet my shop still has massive orders, and I know it's not just for the covers. So people are reading it. I guess maybe they are getting it physically, because we didn't expect it to go on to 40 issues. By the time Wilson's done,
How do you know it's not just for the covers, though? How do you know that?
Because I talked to the guy that stocks the books, and he's like, we get the special covers, but it's not like people are coming in just for those. Like they qualify for the however many it breaks down, that they get it. So he's just like, you're number 1 on the list, right? So I kind of get the, whatever it is, whatever cover I kind of got call for. But yeah, people come in and they're buying the Poison Ivy book, and they're buying the trades and whatever. So it's really good that DC's letting this thing go, and letting Wilson tell her story. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't really have any other comments on the top books this week. But cool to see the Absolute line still doing very well. Batman's still doing well. Just kind of as expected. So that'll about do it. A couple of quick news things. Honestly, this first one's barely news, but DC kind of detailed their free comic book day stuff a little bit, and effectively they're putting out like a sampler that has at least a section of some of the issue 1s that are coming out. But I think all these issue 1s are out before May. This is just like them putting some previews into like a free issue down the line. Those books being Batwoman issue 1, Lobo issue 1, and Deathstroke the Terminator issue 1. So, like I say, it doesn't really feel like that much of a news thing, because it's just kind of them reprinting some of the issue 1s in a sort of, try it format for Free Comic Book Day. So there's that, and then there's obviously they've got like a Sonic crossover issue for Free Comic Book Day. And then like a Nice House on the Lake Free Comic Book Day special edition for issue 1, just to sort of put that back in the spotlight, given that Nice House by the Sea is just about to come back. Makes some sense. I guess the big news thing though this week is more movie related, and that is that Sebastian Stan apparently is going to be playing Harvey Dent in the Batman Part 2. And then extended from that, people are speculating. Now, this is not confirmed. I'm not even sure if him being Two-Face is 100% confirmed, although that seems a lot more lately based on what's coming out. Is that Scarlett Johansson, who's definitely going to be in the movie, people are suspecting that she might be playing Gilda Dent based on this. And I think the clue they're basing this on is that they said previously with her that she's going to be playing a villain that's never been in a movie before. So, okay, so obviously she's not Catwoman, because we already have a Catwoman in that universe, but like you take away Poison Ivy, you take away, I don't know, whoever else you can maybe think of.
Yeah.
You know, and then we've got Harvey Dent.
Talia.
So,
right?
Yeah, we've already had Talia,
Yeah,
so.
There hasn't been too many female villains in the Batman movies. Not live action anyways.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I mean, not that Batman has a ton of female villains anyways, but...
No. And obviously we've had Harley, but Harley's kind of in this weird anti-hero place now anyway.
Yeah.
So...
and I mean, it checks out with the vibe that Reeves is doing, right? If we're going to get into the long Halloween of it all with Harvey and Gilda and their whole dynamic and, you know, how Gotham looks, because it's kind of not quite year one, right? Batman's been Batman for a minute. So that fits the Harvey Dent, you know, special prosecutor kind of stuff. And in fact, I don't need it to even see him be Two-Face by the end of the movie, right?
Oh no, we'll get
seeding him as
we'll get that in
character?
Part 3, which will come out in 2037.
Yeah.
When I'm almost 50, and you will be 50.
Yeah, thanks.
It just made me feel better to say that at the end. I'm like, oh, but you will be 50.
Whatever helps, man. But yeah, so I don't even need that. And seeing some of the roles that he's taken since the MCU, you know, I'm excited as a Harvey Dent guy. So yeah, it's real cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel particularly strongly. I think it is kind of interesting that the second movie is going to be doing some Harvey Dent stuff, because The Dark Knight was the second movie in that trilogy, and that also was the one that did the Harvey Dent stuff. Obviously, as much as there's a few things that are in that movie that are referencing Long Halloween, it's not an adaptation of that story. Not that I'm suspecting this will be an adaptation of Long Halloween, but if they're going to do Harvey and Gilda, if they're actually going to do those two characters and their relationship and seed things for the future, if that's where we're going, then that already feels more of an adaptation of Long Halloween than anything we've had before. And you know, these are big. I mean, ScarJo especially is a big actor to get, which makes me feel like I doubt they got her to sign for multiple movies. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe they made a 2-picture deal. They locked her in for 2. But I feel like if they're doing Gilda, they're going to like have her story be done by the end of that second movie. Whereas Sebastian Stan, I can believe that he gets a multi-picture deal because he's cheaper than she is. No knock against him, but he's not the star that Scarlett Johansson is. So, you know, I mean, ScarJo arguably is the biggest actor in the movie at this point, right? She's bigger than Robert Pattinson. She's bigger than you know, Colin Farrell and whoever else is going to be in there. So, I don't know. I'm curious. Obviously, I'll be excited to see the Batman Part 2 when it exists, but we've waited so goddamn long. What age was I when the first one came out? I was 33 when the first Batman, or no, actually I wasn't yet, because it was early in the year, I think, but I was just about to turn 33, and it's wild to me that I'm going to be 38 if it still keeps its current release date by the time this one comes out.
It's coming up on 5 years. So it came out in March.
Yeah, it was March 2022.
Was it 2022?
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, god damn. Time means nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, we're coming up on 4 years then, and that's a long time. Yeah,
it'll be over. Yeah, it's not coming out until late next year, right? It's October 2027 it's coming out. So it'll be over 5 years by the time it comes out. Like and it's just kind of weird because, you know, we've got this whole new universe moving forward that's been positive so far. You know, the trailer for Supergirl looks good. Superman was really good. We're excited about various things there. And it's just kind of wild that, I mean, they might introduce their own Batman in that universe and get things going before Part 3 is even, like, whiffing existence. The way that Matt Reeves is going.
Aside to that too, is apparently they are casting Wonder Woman in Man of Tomorrow. That's kind of what the vibes are, and that she's gonna have a role. I don't know.
What does the vibes mean? Let's break that down. What rumors?
The actress? Yeah. So the casting thing that's gone out, that's been covered by some of the bigger, Hollywood reporters type stuff, is that they're looking for a dark-haired actress to play a very, like, they said prominent role, and I don't know what prominent, actually means in this context, right? Because Wonder Woman is a prominent character, right? But who knows of how big of a role in the movie is
but that could be a thing where, like, it's a small role in this movie, but it's prominent, like, for other reasons going forward. It's just not
right. And so that seemed to be, like, they haven't confirmed Wonder Woman, but that just seems to be the idea there.
But this could also be like someone getting cast to play Lucy Lane.
Yeah.
True. Like, a side character with dark hair, a woman with dark hair could be Lucy Lane.
And and the other thing that I got put out was that Batman will be referenced in the movie but not shown.
Okay,
that was the other.
They're inching towards it, all right?
Yep.
Inching towards it.
And is that a thing where they don't want to step on Reeves' feet, right? Because when Man of Tomorrow comes out.
I mean, Man of Tomorrow's out a few months before Batman Part 2, so that'll be the same year as that's coming out. I don't think they can hold off in their Batman completely until Batman Part 3's done, because assuming it's going to be a trilogy, and the amount of time it's taken for each one, I have to imagine it is just a trilogy, because otherwise Robert Pattinson's going to be, I think Robert Pattinson is my age, like, I think he's the exact same age as me, which means that, so he can be Batman when he's almost 40, or almost 50 even, but, like, can he be Batman when, like, by the time we get to, I was joking about 2037, but let's say it takes another 5 years for Part 3, right? That pushes it to 2032.
Yeah.
And at that point, 43, that could still be a Batman, right? 43 is absolutely still Batman age. But in another 5 years, he's almost 50. Okay, maybe he can do one movie at that age as the old man Batman who's ready to retire. But, like,
I was gonna say, we could do Dark Knight Returns to follow it up.
Yes.
Start the movie with him in the car crash, going, "It would be a good death."
So it's funny how long it's taken when, like, the wheels of these universes have to move quicker just inherently so that they can have, things matter in the next movies and keep going. So it's
crazy that there'll be 3 DCU movies out before the second Matt Reeves Batman. And
maybe more than 3. I mean, so Superman, right? That's 1. Clayface, Supergirl. That's 3.
Clayface, right?
And then Superman, Man of Steel. Is there anything else for that year? Or sorry, Man of Tomorrow. Yeah. I was interchanging his many nicknames. Okay.
That's fine. But let's not compare it to the other one. Like,
No, I don't need to. It's fine.
Yeah. Like, so there's gonna be a whole host of them out there, and, like, as a long-time comic book fan, I would be fine with 2 different Batmans out there. I get why a studio wouldn't want that.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
In fact, I would love a Batman appearance in Clayface, just like I don't need to see the whole character, but just like a visual representation of the Bat type thing.
I mean, that's assuming Batman exists yet, because part of me is wondering if it's going to be like a period piece or something where it's like Clayface before Batman existed, because it may not be what's the usual one that we always have? Basil Karl. It may not be him. It may be one of the previous ones.
Well, it has listed that it's Matt Hagen as the character, but that could be a stage name for Basil Karlo, right? Type deal.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be a number of things, really. But
yeah, so it's gonna be crazy in the time. But that said, having rewatched Batman, I still gotta watch Penguin. It's
worth a watch.
It's all quality. Yeah. It's just one of those things that I have to give it time, right? I have to sit down, have time to pay attention, and all that type of stuff. So everything that's come out through that Reeves side of things has been fantastic.
Obviously, part of it's a taste thing, but I will say I've liked both Peacemaker and the Penguin more than any of the Marvel Disney Plus shows that I watched before I gave up on them. So, take that for what you will.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Cool.
All right, well, I mean, positive things ahead then, hopefully, for DC movies. Well, before Netflix might ruin stuff. But, I mean, we got a little bit of time before we get there.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of time before we get there. I mean, on the upside, at least the next Superman will have already been filmed by the time they're in power.
Yes.
So, like you can at least look forward to that, if nothing else. But after that, it's a complete wild open west of like, what are they going to want to do when they're in charge? Is James Gunn still in charge? Is this, and this? Who knows? Yeah. I mean, obviously, they may not change a goddamn thing, and they may be quite happy with what's happening here. But I mean, it's natural to worry.
If I was a multi-conglomerate that just wants to make money, I would just leave things alone because it's making money. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's this little small thing. You know, Gunn has been proven. So yeah, just, you know, let's not have Zaslav turned into the Hammer of Baravia, and we'll be fine.
All right, that's the bit of movie news. I combined the words there. Yep. I combined movie and news into newsy or newsy. Anyway, that is that. So we'll get onto the books for the week. So let us dive in. Absolute Batman Arkham Special Issue 1. Scott Snyder and Frank Tieri writing with Josh Hixson on the art. So yeah, very curious about this. And to be fair, the only other like one-shot special we've had from the Absolute Universe, which was Absolute Power, was fantastic. So I wasn't necessarily going thinking, oh, this will be as good as that. But I still was like, yo, this could be a very important issue. Like the last one felt like it was super like a big deal and felt like an important cog in like following the ongoing events of the Absolute line. And I think this does kind of, not maybe to the same extent because it's more focused particularly in the Batman corner, but it does feel like an important part of the lore, which is that there was an Arkham Asylum. This issue follows the story of Amadeus Arkham, who did build an asylum after his mother shot the soldier from the Civil War. That I think it was Civil War. Was it the Civil War? Yeah,
Civil War. So yeah,
they mentioned the Union.
It sets it up that so that they set it up that he was born right before the Civil War started, and his dad got stationed. He fought for the Union. And after the war had ended, there were still a couple skirmishes, and his dad was involved in one that didn't need to happen. Yeah. So when the Union soldier comes to tell mom he's died, mom snaps.
It's a useless death. Yeah, it's a death that didn't need to happen because it was after the war. Like was it Lee or whoever it was had already surrendered. I don't know American history. A bunch of stuff happened.
You know what? You know it better than some people that are in charge over here, Pete. So I commend you for that.
So yeah, she snaps, grabs this soldier's gun and just shoots him, and then turns to her children, shoots two of them. But when she gets to Amadeus, she for some reason just decides not to and shoots herself instead. And he I'll never know why I was spared that day, but. Talk about a dark start to your story, for this kid.
So this is where, so I've met Scott Snyder a couple times, and he's like the world's sweetest man when you talk to him. But when he gets to tell stories based on American history, like this American Vampire, some of the other deep, dark stuff that he's worked on, that man has a darkness to him. And let's hope he always stays the nice, sweet man that he is. Because good Lord, I was not ready to this to happen in the first 5 pages.
Yeah, and from there it's like, okay, so he's an orphan now, he grows up, he has one goal, he wants to build an asylum for people, to help people who were like his mother. Maybe he could have helped and stopped his mother doing what she did if he could find her help. So that's his goal. So he raises the money somehow, he builds Arkham Asylum, it's a real place that exists, and he talks about all the different types of patients that they would get. And two key things that are happening here is, one, he's relaying a lot of this to, he's writing it in his journal, but he's talking to someone that he's shown around the building because he's selling it off because it's run down now and no one uses it. And that's kind of like a framing device we keep coming back to. But then in the actual story of him running the asylum, it talks about how he got all the worst patients that the rest of Gotham didn't want. And also this idea that he ended up kind of taking in a kid who ended up here without anyone to look after him. And he kind of became a father figure to this child. So those are the two main big things that are happening in the story. And then, of course, the other big thing is that when he's talking about the patients, he starts talking about this one that was especially disturbing, one who was really sadistic, the one who would laugh in the dark. And I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? Like, I feel like we're setting stuff up here.
And this character is drawn very Joker aesthetic, right? He's gaunt, he's white, like not pale white, right? But his hair is kind of greenish. There's a green and purple tinge to him. And they're definitely making you think of what we think of as Joker, you know?
Yeah, he never gives the name of who it is. He says, I'll just call him Jack Doe for the purpose of this journal. And he also straight up says it later on, he thinks this man went on to be Jack the Ripper. Like, once he escaped, he believes this became Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. Because we learn on early that Amadeus Arkham also had written this book about, he knew who Jack the Ripper was, right? So when the Jack the Ripper killing started happening over in England, he wrote a book surmising that he knew who it was, and that we're assuming that it's this Jack Doe. Something had happened down the line.
Yeah, this is actually not the first time there's been a link potentially between Joker and Jack the Ripper. I believe that Gotham by Gaslight also dabbled into that territory. So...
Yes, but not in the way that you would think. I don't want to spoil it for people.
Oh, sure.
But yes, there are things, but there is a twist on Jack the Ripper when
that's
you get there.
fair.
And Gotham by Gaslight.
So the thing here is that obviously they're telegraphing this idea that this Jack Doe is the man who becomes, like, somehow he's, I mean, obviously the age is a bit weird, but like somehow he's still alive and maybe he's the Joker. He's this man who does not laugh in present day. But the big twist here is that when he orchestrates an escape, and because he knows that Amadeus cares about this boy, this child that's been going around with him, he seemingly has kidnapped him. But the big reveal in the present day part of the story, and again, the present day part of the story here is still set in the past compared to the rest of the Absolute stuff, is that this guy who's like getting shown around the place and asking questions and all that, he whispers something to him that really disturbs him, and it's the thing that the kid used to always say to him, you know, tomorrow's a new page, or something to that effect. And he goes down and like takes the bricks out of the wall, because like, I mean, they knocked down some bricks to escape when Jack Doe orchestrated this whole escape plan years ago, but there's like 2 places that have been patched up with bricks. What's the other one? And he goes in there thinking that he's going to find the body, like the decomposed body of this child. But the twist of the issue is that it's actually Jack Doe who's been stabbed behind that wall for years. And the reveal is that the child has grown up. Like, he's the one who's killed Jack Doe and has grown up to become Jack Grimm. He is the Joker in this universe. Which I was like, okay, all right. Like, this idea that he maybe took some lessons from this guy, but he was actually way more sick in the head than this Jack Doe actually was.
Yeah, because he gained his trust and stabbed him with a pointed toothbrush, which is what, you know, they had claimed that Jack Doe had done to the rest of the people. But it turns out it was the kid that orchestrated the breakout. And he finds a note that says tomorrow's a new page. And just that realization, right? It's a Usual Suspects realization, the way that it's paced out, the slow reveal that Arkham's like, oh no. I thought that was really well handled. Also, the way that the kid shows up and he's covered in blood. When you go back and think about it, you're just like, oh no, he wasn't the victim here. He did the victimizing. You know, that's why he was covered in blood.
And when he does find this body and there's like a teddy bear with it, he throws it in the furnace and it starts a fire and it burns down Arkham Asylum. That's why it's not there anymore. And you see the man, you know, who only laughs in the dark, as he's now been called in this issue, smiling at the fire. And we cut to seemingly present day in the Absolute Universe. But now it literally says now, actually. It does literally say that. He's got a photograph or a painting on his wall of the burning Arkham Asylum just up there in his office. And I thought, oh, damn, like, this idea of this is a part of his past and something that he's, been all about. And then there's a little bit at the end where he's like, so he's talking to someone about keeping eyes on this Batman character and like, oh, he's no threat to you. That's, send me in. And he's like, no, it's not time for you yet. And then the reveal is that he's talking to his Deathstroke. Absolute Deathstroke's revealed here at the end of the book. So that's what we're building up to. We also tease a bunch of other villains that we've not seen yet. Basically experiments in the Ark M, or if not the M building, then maybe the Ark, whatever other ones that he's got.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Langstrom, Isley, Hugo Strange, which I think is a weird one being there because you don't associate him with being on that side.
Oh, sure, but I mean, who knows? I mean, this Joker is like kind of taking a lot of what Hugo Strange normally is because he's doing the experiment. So yeah, we'll see what Hugo Strange in the Absolute Universe is like. If he's like, I don't know, like
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
but yeah, they got Jonathan Crane, Basil Karlo, and Jervis Tetch, and then the two after we see that paperwork that come up on there, and there's the Isley biome and the Langstrom biome, and he hits a button that says release, and out of the one on the left it looks like there's a bunch of vines coming out, and then on the one on the right it looks like a gigantic bat crawling out. So I feel like I know who's coming next,
but it's very abstract though, where you just see like sort of like a bit of the wings coming through the darkness. They don't really reveal what they look like yet, so we're kind of I actually it took me a second to realize that was representing Ivy, because it was that previous panel that gave me the hint, because if you had just given me that visual, I don't think I would have jumped to Ivy, because it looks more like, I don't know, almost like blood vessels or something coming out of the darkness. So I was thinking, is that some like, I don't even know what villain I think that is, but I wouldn't have went straight to Ivy.
No, I went to initially Clayface, right? Because it's so in the front there, and it doesn't seem like plant life. Like you said, it seems a lot more human, like blood vessel kind of vibes. So, but yeah, I really love the take that Snyder's using here with the Bat villains, that they're all these experiments from Arkham. At this point.
Yeah, and then Joker's basically just testing Batman with them. Like, send out these two and see how he fares against them, and, we'll keep playing with them until it's time to do whatever. But I do love that he's underestimating him, though. He's like, oh, this Batman's not a threat. Like, I do like that, because it'll be very satisfying when he maybe eats those words a little bit at some point down the line. Maybe a while away yet, but it will come.
Yeah, because he also talks about that he's a former patient, who, believe it or not, who escaped. And so if he's looking at him also like an experiment, that's pretty dire as well. Yeah,
which obviously we read all that. That was in the story, him being there and escaping.
Yeah. But Joker thinking of him like that, right? This Jack Grimm's like, oh no, he's not Batman. He's just one of my experiments now. And just that thought process.
Because like there was an Arkham now, and the Joker obviously built that bought that land and built this new place, and he'd been doing these arcs. It does suggest he picked that naming convention so that when he got this part of Gotham ready, he could call it Arkham as like a callback to Arkham. As opposed to it being this weird coincidence. Like, it feels like intentional.
No, it feels, like you said, intentional.
Yeah.
And again, I love when Snyder does this historical type stuff too, because it does show that he's thinking through. Like, I fully believe he has a timeline of the Absolute Universe as far as Batman's concerned, how far back this goes.
Oh, sure. And obviously the other thing here is that because like they've established that a lot of the villains already know each other, I'm sure there's a lot of like, I'm sure when they do the writers retreats like a year 2 years ago probably at this point, and they were mapping a lot of this early stuff out, they were like, okay, this is the backstory to this character. How do we make those like mesh together? Did Grimm always know Veronica Cale, or is that something that happened in the last like 5 or 10 years? What? I'm sure they've got some crazy bullet points all listed somewhere of weird facts.
Yeah, and because you brought up absolute power at the beginning, and that was written by Ewing too, who put out the these villains all knowing each other, being part of like the secret cabal, and now we're seeing that stuff kind of spin out in some of the other absolute books. And so here it still feels like Snyder has his own corner, right? Like, we saw Jack Grimm show up in Absolute Wonder Woman because of the crossover and stuff, but he still feels like his own, like he's his own threat. Like, as much as he's part of that cabal, he's still doing his own thing in comparison with the rest of them. And that to me makes him a lot scarier, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I think what's neat though is that the experience of reading these as they're coming out is that felt very like, they had that little moment in that Wonder Woman issue just a few weeks ago, and then you read this and it feels like, they're all serving to like tease each other's books in a way where it does feel like this coherent thing that's happening through at least the ones that have intermingled a little bit so far, and I'm sure that's only going to get better as like they start crossing over Flash and Green Lantern into some of these other ones and whatever else we're doing. And
when we get to Absolute Superman, there's some stuff that popped up from Absolute Power that pops up in Absolute Superman, and and that's Ewing and and Jason Aaron, and I know they worked together previously at Marvel on stuff, right? So just knowing that there's trust in communication, right? It does feel like this event that is unfolding before our eyes, you know, without hitting us over the head, and that kind of like KO is, you know.
Yeah. No. I wasn't, I think, particularly familiar with Josh Hixson as an artist. I think the art in here's solid. I think it does a pretty good job. I mean, it doesn't really feel like anything that's been the regular Absolute Batman book, but that's kind of okay because it's all like backstory stuff anyway. It's meant to feel like a period piece, and it kind of nails that different style. But perhaps the most effective stuff is the kind of the horror side of it, which is like just how creepy Jack Doe looks at various points when he's sort of smiling behind his hair and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's pretty effective. So.
And then the smile of Jack Grimm as he's watching the asylum burn, right? Like that's heavy inks. It's almost Albuquerque-esque, you know, with the heavy shadows and the orange and the purple and all that type of stuff. So
yeah, well, it's also like they really emphasized in that last Batman issue. Well, I think it was the last one we got the backstory of Jack Grimm. That he only laughs when he's like testing or doing something horrific to people, because that's the whole thing. He's the man who does not laugh. But that issue revealed no, he does laugh, but he only laughs at kind of these worst possible, most grotesque points when he's doing something really bad to someone. So the idea that he's laughing or smiling as he's watching Arkham Asylum burn is really good, because it pays that off, because we've already set up how much of a big deal that is. But also it makes you sort of think about it, like, is this that dark? And it kind of is. He came back to this place decades later to slowly reveal to this man that everything he thought about this kid that he thought died was wrong, and that the kid that he had in his like protege was actually the most dangerous patient he had. And like he had this all come out to him, and then he dies in a fire on his own. Like he's smiling at his handiwork here, and it is very eerie. So it's very effective.
No, for sure. There's that sense of hopelessness there, where when he realizes what it is, and Snyder gives it enough time too. There's a bunch of pages in between Arkham finding this out and us finding it out, and the suspense is all there. And then when you realize, like, oh no, the kid killed Jack Doe, and he made it off, and he might be the one that was Jack the Ripper this whole time. There's just this utter hopelessness for. I
think that is the
Arkham.
implication, is that Grimm was, because they even said that in the Absolute Batman issue, right? That was like something that was put forward, is that he might just straight up be Jack the Ripper.
Okay, that's something I forgot. So I'm not, you know, but yeah. So, and it all plays in with that too, with the kid that started off on the streets, and again he shows up covered in blood. And when you have the context that this is the guy that makes it out and becomes Jack Grimm, you're just like, oh my lord, what happened?
Yeah, because
what did he do?
They read it as, oh, this poor child needs help. Look at him, he's covered in blood. But then in the hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, who did he stab repeatedly to get this much blood on him? Yeah, that's what it feels like now. So that continues to be a dark, fun time. I'm liking the build here. There's something really nice about this entire universe, which feels like they've put a lot of thought into planning it, because it's not something that has to go on forever necessarily. I'm sure they'll keep going for as long as it's successful, but right now it still feels that we're still very much in that era of like, no, they've mapped a lot of this out, and it's all clicking really well so far. So good stuff. What are you giving Absolute Batman Arc M Special?
I'm going to give this a straight 8.
I'm going a bit higher than that, I think. 8.5 for sure. I could be tempted by the 9. I'll go 8.5. I think I'm just holding back a little bit, because I think there's if I'm compared to the Absolute Power, which was like a 9.5, I'm going to say this is an 8.5. But no, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. So good stuff. Absolute Superman, issue 15, Jason Aaron writing with Juan Ferreyra on the art. Great to see Ferreyra again on a book. It's been a couple times recently, but there was a long gap without him, so I'm always pleased to see. So this issue very much is Superman kind of starting to get into the just almost the routine of saving people. But it touches on some things that often come up in early Superman stories, like how difficult it is to hear people constantly and hear the pleads for help, and how like the almost how desperate he is to try and not hear that sometimes. Like, you know, whenever he's trying to do something, he hears a scream and he has to go, and that's a big part of this. I guess first things first, though, there was like some discussion last issue about will he put on that suit that Martha made for him right away, and the answer is no. It's sitting in a box. You know, I think is it Lana who sees it in the box when she's like dropping off a casserole at one point. So he does have an S on his chest. He is wearing kind of basically just a fixed version of what he had before, but that Martha Kent made outfit has not been utilized yet, so I think we will build up to that at some point.
But the thing that Lana tells him is that you look good in blue. I do like that, because that shows like where the growth of the character is going to come from, right? When he finally decides that's who he wants to be, you know, because he's still putting it together, which I really like. I like this is not a fully formed Superman, that he's still figuring things out.
Oh yeah.
And that's that he has to go up into the upper atmosphere because he's having a hard time dealing with the problems of the world, right? Like all these people that need his help, he's running himself ragged. He doesn't have soul anymore. And the one thing he does to go up to release is he goes up to the upper atmosphere and just lets out a primal scream. And let me tell you, that is relatable. If I could do that, absolutely would do it. And I'd probably feel a lot better than I do now.
Yeah, we see some big feats of like superheroism, and I think what's interesting about some of like, these are just quick things that are kind of happening almost in montage form. But I think what I like about some of these is that it's showing some of the different things that he can do because of the cape that he has, which is, you know, kind of this like sort of basically big batch of like red nanobots effectively. Because we see him like holding a dam together, but you see like the red cape kind of spiders out like a big spider web to try and help hold it together. So it's not so much an extra
to reinforce.
Yeah, it's not like it's not a power per se. It's not like he's got an extra power, but his cape has technology and can do this extra thing, and we see it be used like that in a couple of these different ways, where it's, you know, holding a dam together, or when he's like holding up a plane at one point, it also spreads out to just kind of like help support the weight evenly, as opposed to just all where he's holding it. And I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a fun difference from regular Superman, just in a visual sense of how he's doing all this stuff.
Yeah. And it also gives him a more alien look to it too. You know what I mean? Like the cape still makes him seem like a larger than life, right? With traditional Superman, but here it's like this wispy kind of tendrily thing that you might not think necessarily as a cape. It could be wings, it could be tendrils, it could be anything. So it still keeps that kind of alien aspect to him, which I do like. Yeah,
I mean, obviously we're just using the word cape because, like, what else do we call it if we don't call it a cape? I mean, at this point, but you know, I think it looks great. Obviously, when he's flying, it does look almost more cape-like in that 2-page spread early on when he's just before he gets to the dam. It's almost like, hey, I'm intentionally going to make it look like a classic cape here, barring a little bit of, you know, just a bit of a sort of trail off at the end to sort of give that impression of it being made up with the little bits. But and we see him go after, you know, was it a corrupt billionaire? He like burns a big, you know, hole in his building and says, hey, all this like abusing and taking people for advantage is done now. You've got someone to answer to. I'm here. Quit it.
Yeah, and it's not just a corrupt billionaire. It's Winslow Shot. It's Toyman.
Oh, it's Toyman, of course. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and like he's used child labor in other countries, you know, and then he's hurt these kids by pushing their hours and not taking care of them. And there's with that warning where he essentially he heat visions this big old hole in the side of the skyscraper.
Yeah, I love the full page spread. Well, kind of. There's a little panel at the bottom, but the full page spread of the wide shot of just like what this building looks like from a distance, and you just see this like melted hole, like just in the middle of it near the top.
Well, and this is a thing I also love. I love when Superman can show how upset he is by making his eyes glow when he does the red eyes. Because it really shows, like, if you push Superman to that level, it's real bad. And here, the way that Ferreyra draws it, where it's like it's coming from inside of him. It's not just that his eyes are glowing. It's almost like there's this fire inside of him that you can see through his eyes. And it's very effective.
Yeah, he goes to the base that Brainiac was at, finds all the broken bottle cities, and says he looked for a Krypton city, but he couldn't find one. And he feels bad that he didn't hear or was able to help anyone here that was in these cities. And that kind of prompts one. It's a really sad scene because he wants to talk to Saul, but Saul's not there anymore, and it kind of really emphasizes that. And we get him in silhouette to show how sad he is. And then we also get him walking through the fire once he's set this place alight with his eyes. The second half of the issue kind of takes another form, where he goes to Pakistan to talk to Ra's al Ghul in a cell. And in some ways, this is a very classic Superman thing, where he wants to actually try and rehabilitate Ra's al Ghul. And Ra's al Ghul is like saying, piss off, this is pathetic, I'm never going to care about this. Oh, the peasants out there wrote some poetry in the hopes that I'll be better one day. I need some toilet paper. Give me some toilet. I'll wipe my ass with it. The ass of the demon needs wiped.
It weirdly reminded me. Yes. It weirdly reminded me of Demolition Man when Sly doesn't know how to use the seashells, so he goes and says the cuss words.
I mean,
so he gets the citation, so he has something to wipe with.
Yeah,
you know, it gives me that vibes a little bit.
This is more insulting though, because it's someone's like poured their heart out into a poem, and he's like, "I'm going to wipe my ass with it."
yeah. And he just, I love that each time that Superman goes to talk to him, and we find out that Ra's isn't getting the Lazarus pit treatments anymore because the board fired him for the siege war on Kansas. And each time Superman goes to talk to him, he looks more and more old. You know, like it's really taking the effects. So not that it adds a ticking clock, but it does show like a time progress that Superman has been going and doing this for a minute. You know, by the time at the end of the issue. After
this starts, because he keeps sort of saving and like stopping disasters in between each time he comes to talk to Ra's. And one of the ones we see here, I was like confused for a second because there's like a full page spread. It's a gorgeous looking page, art wise, it looks gorgeous. But he's like breathing fire out onto a field and starting a big fire. I'm like, what are you doing? This seems dangerous. Yeah. And then you sort of read a bit and you're like, oh, it explains the context of this. So does he have fire breath powers now? He does not. But something that he can't typically do in the main comics, I don't think, is he basically went to a place where there was a raging fire and he sucked it all in and then spat it all back out in a place that actually wanted a controlled burn. This is like a field in Smallville that wanted a controlled burn at some point. So this was like a good use of it. But I'm like, how does the science of the fire still being active exist inside of him? I don't really get that part that much. But
I don't either, but I'm going to take this as Jason Aaron's a guy that wrote Thor for years. So he understands mythic, like, acts of service. This feels like something from the old Hercules legends or from the stories of Thor. You know, things that just don't make sense, right? But they're just these feats that someone at the level of Superman can do.
Yeah, but see if this was someone saying they saw this to someone else and it was like a sort of like an unreliable person, not in a bad way, but just like someone's like spreading myths of Superman, and it's like, oh, they're embellishing the truth. They're saying something that obviously he can't do. But this is Superman saying it to Lois. This is him explaining, I did this today. So there's like no wiggle room here. This is absolutely, he sucked in fire and then spat it all back out, which, you know, I do think is like, I'm okay if we don't do this as a power going forward. It feels a little bit weird. I don't know.
I like what it represents, right? That he took something that was devastating and brought it and did something restoring with it. He took the destruction and made it restorative.
And it's a gorgeous page. Like the art of the page is phenomenal. I just think it's a bit of a weird power. Unless magic's involved, like that's the only way that I can maybe go, or maybe something like Metamorpho, because he can literally create fire with these like powers. But this feels weird to me because it doesn't really fit into the rest of the power set, I guess. But regardless.
But I do like, if you read what Lois is saying, he's like, so like I moved it to somewhere it could do some good. And she's like, you ate a 12,000 acre tropical wildfire and puked it onto Kansas. That's what you're telling me. He's like, I suppose you could say that. I didn't know what else to do. Should I have done something different? And so I do like the confusion from it, where she's like, what are you even telling me? So, you know, I do like that it puts us on level with Lois here, you know? But yeah, I like what it represents, though.
No, it's just a weird power. I'm not in love with the idea of it, but yeah, she actually does ask him out for a drink, and is clearly trying to, like, if not a date, at the very least wants to be social with him. And he hears, you know, like, oh, something in a country, there's someone in trouble, like, you know, that direction. Off I go. and he flies off without having to commit to anything. So it's showing that people are starting to reach out to him. In fact, the very next scene is Lana coming by with a casserole.
Yep.
And everyone knows who he is because there's no secret identity here. Like, people just sort of call him Clark in Smallville because they know that's who he is. But yeah, that's where we see like the outfit still sitting in a box. We see that he's still going to Raz and talking to him, and Raz is just yelling at him. We see that he's helping, a boat in the ocean, which is, try to fight tidal, or just not tidal waves, but just waves. We see he takes a child who is dying of cancer out to like a magical location to watch some islands or whatever, because she doesn't want to die in a hospital room. And it's like, oh, that's really sad, but also really sweet. Very Superman. It's a very Superman thing to do.
Yeah, that one hit me hard, and because the thing is, like, so I make sure she doesn't. And again, that's why he's my favorite superhero. There's that radical compassion, you know.
And then there's also one moment where he uses his cape to kind of like try and bind two bits of a bridge together. So that was kind of a cool visual. We see that he's turned the barn into kind of a fortress where there's all the big red crystals are kind of inside it. So that's kind of a cool little thing moving forward as well. So no, the big thing was not the last page. There's a little epilogue with another character, but the last thing with Superman is Hawkman shows up. But of course, absolute power. If you've read that, you know that Hawkman's working for the baddies. So so they've sent Hawkman after Superman. So we're starting to see the fruit bear of absolute power. Arguably, we already have a little bit with like some of the villains interacting in issues, but this is like the first time they've directly done something out in the open to him.
Yeah, I love too that this came off of him talking to Roz, and Clark comes to the conclusion of like, yes, I hate all this noise, and I'm not going to be able to handle it all the time. But that noise is life, right?
Yes.
Like, that is life ongoing. And as long as I hear that noise, I know that we are still persisting. Yeah, the cacophony means that we're still alive. It means we have hope. Yeah, sorry. Reading is hard sometimes. Cacophony. And see, I do know how to say it. I had to reestablish.
Cacophony,
but
I
it's
think.
Also,
but you're closer. Yes, you're good.
Yes. So, but it's one of those moments where he's up screaming in the atmosphere, is when Hawkman shows up, right? And this is like a place where he goes to go by himself, and now there's someone else there. And I just like the way that the art's drawn too, where he's on the lower end of the page and he's completely surprised, and Hawkman's taking up a big section of it, right? With his hawk spread, out there, and it's very ominous.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up his realization though, about how all this sound at least means there's life and therefore a world. And therefore this is kind of becoming home, because he's not he's still obviously not, and he's happy like, I'm just going to be a nice friendly man all the time, Superman. Yet he's still clearly suffering the effects of losing Krypton. But this felt like a sort of first step of him realizing this is kind of becoming the new home. I don't think he's really considered it that yet, right? He's felt like he's just here as an outsider, and he still is an outsider, but this felt like, oh, I'm finding comfort in this place existing now. And I think that is a step forward versus how he's felt about Earth and people up until now.
Because before he gets to the noise is life, there's this whole section of his narration that says, I'm killing myself to give them more time to suffer and to stumble, more time. Is that a gift or a curse? It depends on the day you ask me. All I know for certain is that this is home now. And that is where he's in the barn with all the crystals. So it's almost like this hybrid of the world that he lost and the world he's at now, right? Because there's vestiges of Krypton there, but it's also the barn of the couple that, took him in, So I do like that. And that's where at the end he has his three identities of Kal-El of Krypton, Clark Kent of Kansas, Superman of Earth. They're all me, right? So it's getting closer to that Superman that we know, right? He still has that angst. He still has that loneliness. Which I do like, and it sets him apart, right? But it's the more I read the Absolute Universe, the more I feel like the character that we tend to think of Superman as, they've given those characteristics to Wonder Woman, and I think that's super smart. And what we've seen so far of the Absolute Universe, she's the one that's kind of the happy-go-lucky. We can figure things out. She makes friends with everybody type things. That's where she is already, and that gives Superman a point to get to. You know, this Clark Kent. You know, eventually he'll come around, but we have that archetype in Wonder Woman, and I can't wait to see how these two interact. Because now we've gotten Batman and Wonder Woman. I want to know how this version of Superman interacts with that version of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wonder Woman's personality is just kind of Wonder Woman, to be honest. And I think part of what makes these absolute stories kind of touching in a way is that those, like, obviously there's so many differences and there's so many things that make it the absolute version. But I think part of the heart of the stories for people who like these characters, you know, in general, before we've ever touched an absolute book, is that the Batman we know, like, despite all the differences, he's still really in there. He's still Batman to his core. Wonder Woman is still Wonder Woman to her core. And this Superman will eventually be more recognizable as Superman because that person... it reminds me a little bit like a Flashpoint of all things. Like, you know, the Superman of the Flashpoint world was this, like, you know, tortured, like, teenager. But there was this idea that, you know, that good person is still in there and you'll still try and help because that's just who he is, regardless of anything. And it's like, so despite all these worst conditions that have been thrown at him, despite everything that's much worse in the absolute universe, the idea that he's still going to eventually find the path of just being Superman is kind of reassuring in a weird way. So it's,
that's... I didn't think about the Flashpoint version. That is kind of spot on too. There's a lot of similarities there. You know? Yeah.
I mean, this is better than Flashpoint, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be clear.
And that was a Scott Snyder book too. I don't know if you know that.
Project Superman?
Flashpoint.
Not the main book. The main book was John's, obviously, but
John's. But the Project Superman, like, little sub arc, the 3-issue, that was Scott Snyder. That was the first time he had written Superman. I know I made sure to go out and get those. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I didn't think you put those together until you just mentioned that.
Anyway, the last couple pages here is Brainiac, who I swear is looking more like the Joker every time we see this guy. Smile.
This sick freak.
It's like Joker with green skin, but he's cut off the top of his scalp to expose his brain. That's what this Brainiac looks like.
He looks more like the Joker Luthor combination than the one that's in World's Finest right now.
It's like Joker, Luthor, and Pinhead had a 3-way, and this was the demented child that came out of it. So yeah, he's in Missouri and he's talking to, was it Talia, and Talia's like, hey, come back here, we have to help and come up to the planet to help my father escape. And he's like, oh, I don't care about that, I don't care about your stupid things, I've got other plans to take care of. And it just reveals in the last page that he's walking towards the Luthor farm, which obviously we teased at the end of the last issue. So
yeah, I do like that he gives her the best wishes in your future endeavors. He future endeavors Talia, which I love. And I know Jason Aaron's a wrestling fan, right? Like, I've talked to him about wrestling. I know that's where that comes from. So the fact that the demonic robot alien is the one saying it, also picking up on that's pretty hilarious. But yeah, and then he's whistling. There's little music notes as he heads to the Luthor residence. I'm like, how is this creepy man also whimsical? It doesn't make sense. I love it. I know,
he's probably whispering or whistling "No Chance in Hell" as he walks with a strut towards the house.
And you know what? With those robotic legs, there's no reason that he doesn't walk like that with the big kick out strut. Oh dear, man, so funny.
Anyway, yeah. So it was a good issue. It was, you know, I liked all the I liked him trying his best to try and, like, rehabilitate Raz, even though it never actually works in this issue, but he keeps going back and trying anyway. Yeah, because that's who he is.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I do like that we're getting some of those things that started in Absolute Power starting to show up too in here. Right, we got Absolute Hawkman, we got Luthor popping back up, you know, and the way that they built up Luthor in Absolute Power too, it seems like he's the missing piece to whatever their puzzle is. So now the fact that we're putting that piece here.
Now, does he know that? I don't know. It's actually very unclear right now. He might just be a happy farmer right now, and then
the Cenobite Brainiac is gonna probably see to that he's no longer a happy farmer. I feel like he's what's Pinhead's line about, you know,
which one? There's two I think that come to mind. There's we will devour your soul, and there's we have
it's
such
about the pain and pleasure. Yes,
we have such sights to show you. Is I guess the other one. Yeah.
Yes. That season showed up at the door. We have such sights to show you. My God. And now you know what? Now I'm going to read it in that actor's voice. What was his name? The
Doug Bradley, I believe, is the actor.
Doug Bradley, yeah.
Pinhead.
He did stuff, speaking of wrestling, he did, when the House of Black was coming back, he did the voiceover for their little occult thing when they were being reborn. And it maps so well. He has that nice, deep voice. Yeah, so now I'm going to read Brainiac as Doug Bradley. And,
I love how this conversation about this book has dipped into both wrestling and horror movies, and I just love the idea that there's some people who are just into comics listening to this going, I don't get all these references, stop comparing it to these other things.
Look, wrestling, horror movies, and Superman, those are three of my things, right? So we shouldn't be that surprised here.
Hey, horror movies weren't your thing until I infected you. I want to remind you.
I know, Ash tells me every October this is Pete's fault. So, and then I appreciate that because there were pieces there, but you helped invigorate them, so
lovely.
The horror mentor, if you will.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Do you know what? Do you want to say to her, hey, do you know what? I'll watch something nice and whimsical with you tonight. Let's watch the Norwegian take on Cinderella. A little gem called The Ugly Stepsister.
Yes. It's been in the queue for a minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's on Shudder. I'm waiting to watch it with my brother, actually, because he's been wanting to watch it.
Okay. Okay.
But yes. I saw that you saw it. It's on the letterbox.
Yep.
I was like, I should get around to it finally. Anyways, no. Also, because of you, though, the Terrifier came around, and she loves art, which scares me. So, she loves art more than I do.
See, that's you would never have watched that with her, I don't think, if I hadn't started you on your path to get into harder and harder horror movies.
Yeah.
You start off with a light horror movie, and then you hit the hard stuff. Where you're tapping it into the veins directly. Yeah, no, I'm definitely a sick little freak now. Anyways, the art's great here. Ferreyra's obviously it's very different to a lot of obviously what we had before in the book, but it's really gorgeous stuff. If you like Ferreyra's work here, I think you'll probably enjoy a lot of his big the big splash page moments of all the big Superman stuff. But then you've got the creepy Brainiac at the end and all the rest of it, and all that looks good too. So. No, good stuff. What are you giving Absolute Superman?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
I think that's fair. I think I agree with the 8.5. So I'm going to agree with that. All right. Batman, issue 5, legacy number 933, Matt Fraction writing with Jorge Jiménez on the art. So, this issue is the date, or maybe it's not a date. Maybe just one of them thinks it's a date. But, the doctor lady, is getting picked up by Bruce, and this entire issue takes place over the course of not even their date, just on the way to the date. There's bad guys in motorbikes start chasing after them. And effectively what this issue becomes is kind of this comedy bit of this action sequence where Bruce is having to drive with the skill of an expert stunt driver, and just but not giving up the fact that he's Batman to her, but they're having the neat cute stuff of you thought this was a date, you're wearing a skirt and heels, and she's like, no, I didn't think this was a date, get over yourself, Mr. Wayne. And there's just there's a lot of this back and forth as they're dodging assassins, and I'll say this up front, right? I really like this issue. It's a fun time, and a part of that is that it is just this them him trying to make normal conversation as they're in these, because eventually once you get halfway through the issue, he's having to drive the car off the highway and land on a road underneath, and it's all this big action stuff, and I'm just this woman is shook from all this. This is insane stuff that's happening, but it's very fun. It's very well paced, all that stuff.
They're coming after her, but I don't think she realizes they're coming after her. She thinks maybe wrong place, wrong time. Yeah, and he's the one that points out, that's made of birds. Yeah, they're probably coming after you for various reasons. Yeah. Oh, we haven't even got to the lady made of birds yet. That comes later. No, and there's just that, and her reaction to everything. I love this. Is the stuff that I love from Matt Fraction is the character dynamics. He knows the voices for each of these characters inside and out. Oh, sure. And I think the other thing for me here is that despite the fact that there's never a bat suit, there's never a Batmobile, it's just, Bruce and civvies in a car and then just on foot, is that Jorge Jiménez still feels like he's shining here, because so much of this is so well paced because of the pacing and the art, and how he presents all the action.
It's really good stuff. At one point he says, like, hold on, I'm going to try something, because there's, like, guys in bikes up ahead, and we get this panel of the car spinning, and you just get, these, like, ghost images of the car until its final, direction, where he's ramming the side of the car into the guys in the motorbikes. It's good stuff. And they even find room for one of the little technology things where he's wearing, like, a sort of thin layer of, like, armor in his, like, suit, because of course he is, because he's Batman.
That layer 0 body armor is very John Wick. When they explain, like, the suit that he wears, is this thin layer of Kevlar and keeps you safe, and explains why John Wick can go into these situations without fear of bullets. And and after John Wick to Batman's not a bad thing.
And after that 2-page layout where they have to drive the car off of the bridge, they end up, it just sort of breaks down and hits, like, a dumpster in an alleyway. He's like, okay, we have to go on foot now, let's go. And that's when the lady that forms out of a bunch of ravens appears, looking halfway between, like, a samurai and Carmen Sandiego. That's the best description I can give you of this woman.
Yeah. Look, man, if this keeps up, if this can keep pace, this Fraction Batman run might be up there with the Morrison run in terms of it's just fun, right? Like, this is, I feel like, where certain creators get lost on Batman. Where here, again, there's no bat suit going on, right? But he's still doing very much Batman things. And then there's a lady that's made out of birds. We didn't need it. We could have just had the guys chase, them, and Batman fight them off or whatever. But no, we get this weird lady, and we get some, more additions to whatever's going on in this crazy story.
Yeah, we also, there's kind of a rom-com issue, but all taking place throughout an action, like, extended sequence, and that's a lot of fun. And then I read this right after Arkham, right? So I read Arkham, and then I read this. Not intentionally per se, I just kind of like, what do I read next? I'll go with Batman, thinking, it'll be a bit lighter perhaps than some of the other books. And it was, but it was such a nice, like, change of pace. But, like, those books complemented each other so much, because one was this dark horror story with, murder and, like, foreboding doom of the villain being this ultra powerful thing. And then this one was just so light in a good way, but the character worked so strong. And, there's little nuggets in here where, like, these motorbike dudes and this bird lady aren't working together because, they scare her off. So it's like, okay. They're from different factions. She's probably on her own, I imagine, but who's to say? We'll find out as we will learn more. And then throughout all this, while Bruce is fighting her and she's hiding in a dumpster, like the scientist lady, like, he gave her a present and she didn't know what it was, and, like, he kind of insisted on, like, taking it from the car as if it was important, or she insisted on taking it from the car as if it was like, well, this is all went to shit, so I at least want this present you got me. It turns out it's, like, just a cube of, like, rare material that's, like, indestructible, and it actually ends up breaking the sword when because she swipes it and it goes through the dumpster and it hits this, and it's like, that actually broke the sword, ended up kind of saving Bruce's life. It didn't really. I'm sure he'd have been fine without the help.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it was the titanographene, which is what she's making that device out of. Yes. That's at the crux of the story.
Yes. I had to hold back from calling it unobtainium.
Well, basically what it is, right?
Yeah. Do you know that's in the core? I watched the core again recently for the collector's cut, and there's a material in it called unobtainium.
Okay, I think James Cameron used that because that was a short term in screenwriting.
Yeah,
like, I don't think he was meant to call it unobtainium. He's like, you know what? I'm James Cameron. I'm calling it unobtainium. But yeah, no, it's like a MacGuffin name. You know what I mean? It's a shorthand for a story, a plot device of. I just thought it was funny. Rare material that we can't get to.
I did a spit take when someone said unobtainium. I'm like, wait, that's an Avatar.
Because that's the Hilary Swank, Aaron Eckhart one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's dumb as shit, just for the record. But
yes.
So yeah, fun action taking place. He thanks her for saving, and he convinces her not to go to the police. Like, no, like, the best thing to do right now is just to go on the run. And she's like, hey, why are people trying to kill me? And he's like, it's probably because of the work you're doing. You're developing something that will give people a choice of changing, like, what's bad about them. And people who are in power either hate that idea for one reason or the other, or maybe they just hate the idea of being confronted with the choice of, like, wait, I'm not as best as I could be. I don't want to have to consider that possibility, so I'd rather this thing don't exist. So he gives her a piggyback as he climbs up a ladder. And there's some fun banter. There's her saying, don't look up, because she has to climb over the top of him first. So she's like, hey, I'm in a skirt, don't you look up, mister. And Bird Lady shows up at the top of the thing, and he gets ready to fight. And you know, she's like, hey, you can fight quite well. You know, what actually are you when you're not pretending to be this? Like, she doesn't obviously get that he's Batman, but she clearly gets, okay, you're not just a dumb billionaire. There's something more about this going on. And you know, that's when Damian shows up as Robin, and ends up taking her out with some like electrodes or whatever. He's like, oh hey, yeah,
the bat snare,
the bat snare. This, you know, makes her deform. That's how you defeat her. You know, I learned about her when I was in the League of Assassins. Blah blah blah. But he calls Bruce dad, and I was actually thinking before I turned the page, wait, isn't she like sitting like right there? And she pops out, and the final page cliffhanger is her going, father? Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah. Damien, you idiot, you've just blown the cover to an extent.
And this is where Jiménez kills it, right? Like, he's great at the action stuff.
Yes.
The look on all three of their faces. The Damien's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, the old shit.
Confusion. Yeah. And then Bruce's complete frustration. You know, it's so well done. And
considering like everything she's just seen him do, and then Robin's his son, I mean, like, it's not going to take a lot for her to leap to, wait, you're Batman.
Yeah. I feel like we're going to get out of this by he's going to call in a favor to Superman to put on the bat suit. So they can be in the same place at the same time. You know,
although having said that, though, there's so much fun in this issue of her not expecting like what he's able to do and like kind of doubting him constantly, that it does feel narratively to make sense that she does find out at some point. I was actually thinking that as I was reading that, oh, I actually kind of want her to find out he's Batman at some point now. And then obviously this issue ended with this, and I'm like, oh, okay, cat's out of the bag. Like this is, we're going to explore this in some way. Maybe he'll try and like pretend that it's not true for a while, and maybe we'll do like a little like, you know, she knows, but he won't agree to it, so she keeps trying to prove it by like, you know, like like Lois in Superman 2 when she's like jumping out of windows to like, hey, I know you're Superman, Clark. I'm going to prove it. Come save me.
And I also just, her whole vibe in the two issues that we've really gotten her in the last one and this one, I really like her as a character. So if she becomes a fixture to the Bat family in the same way that Leslie Tompkins and I'm drawing a blank on what's his name? The tech guy, Lucius Fox.
Okay.
Like Lucius Fox.
I mean, I think it's maybe a bit early to jump to she's going to be like a mainstay like that, but I think at the very least for this run, this idea of her being, if not a genuine love interest, which I still think they're kind of teasing with all of the like her, like this isn't a date. Like it feels like, okay, this is totally a romantic thing we're doing here.
They flirt very well, you know. So there's that, and he even points out, he goes, "You're wearing heels and a skirt. It wasn't a date, huh?" Like, you know, just the back and forth and the banter and stuff. So a lot of fun. I really like this issue.
Like, it's very rare that I'll read like a love interest with Batman, like a new one, and think, oh, I want more of this. But I actually thought that as I was reading them like bantered in this issue, because normally it's just kind of like they're there to serve a purpose, they're there to set up a plot point or something. This actually feels like she's like a full-fledged character in this book that he's developing, and that's good. Now, maybe there's plans to have her be killed or leave by the end of the run or whatever already. Who's to say? But at least right now, she feels like an actual character and not just, oh, she's here to set up, oh, she's actually like the villain in secret, or she's like, you know, going to be killed to like, you know, raise the stakes later because the villain's going to kill her to make Batman angry or something.
Compare this one to the one that Taylor created for his first arc in Detective. Like, I don't even remember her name, you know?
No. But I mean, to be fair, I've not learned this character's name yet either. But
well, I know this is Dr. Zeller. I know that much.
Okay, there you go. I don't remember that. She's Dr. Lady. That's all I keep calling her.
Yeah. But, you know, that one just seemed to feel that, like you said, oh, we need kind of a love interest to kind of propel certain plots forward or whatever. This just feels like he's slow playing it, and there's that flirting, there's that, like, that's full of meet cutes. Yeah, and that type of stuff.
It feels like an actual full-fledged character that we're going to keep developing, and it's this wrench into everything where she's learned about who Batman is, possibly here, much earlier than most characters usually do. Like, it's something that's stumbled into by accident, and it's almost like the issue was saying, hey, we're doing a meet cute like sort of thing, but the actual meet cute is the ending of like her like in this adorable way finding out that Bruce is probably Batman.
That's that last page. I love it so much. Again, Jiménez kills it. Just with the body language, the looks, everything. Like you said, yeah, no, that's the real Meek.
Yeah, especially since like
right here at the end.
all issue, Bruce is in complete control. Like he's handling every threat that comes his way. He's fighting motorbikes. He's driving, you know, crazy, all that stuff. This final page is like, oh, this wasn't in your control. You just this was a blunder. It wasn't your mistake, but you have no control of it. No. You have to like deal with this now, and it's not your fault. And that's satisfying because he's been so perfect at everything all issue.
And of course it's Damian.
Of course it is, yeah.
Of course it's Damian.
I wonder if we start next issue with Damian going, did I say father? I meant
Mr. Wayne.
No, I was trying to think of something that would sound like father, like rhymes with father. I can't think of anything though. I meant like I thought you were a priest. That's what I meant. I thought he was like a holy man.
yeah. Him stumbling back on all that stuff would be so funny.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they'll necessarily do that, but that's maybe his way out of his. Oh, I thought you were a priest, sir. Bye.
Yeah. I love what Fraction's bringing to this, and it does. And just looking at some of these panels, I got reminded this is the same guy that made me love Hawkeye as a character, right? And his run on that book with David Aja. And there's some similarities in the breakdowns, like with the panel that made this one was we see how the ladder goes down and there's an arrow pointing out, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like Hawkeye, and then it clicked. Oh yeah, same writer.
Yeah, there's another one early on actually where Bruce looks at his side view mirror and there's like a little like dotted line going towards it to show that he's looking at it. That again, obviously that's maybe more of an art thing, but that feels like something that Fractions put in the script and said, hey, I want a thing here. Do a thing. Yeah.
That does make sense. I'm looking at that too. But yeah, and it shouldn't come as any surprise because it does. It actually kind of has some like the tone of that Hawkeye as well. You know, this has much bigger stakes because they're with Gotham, Batman, and stuff, and it's not the the Russian bros.
It's a bigger characters. It's a bigger world that we're playing in. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a parallel to it.
Same with that tone. So, but yeah, no, if this keeps going, if this can keep up, it'll be one of my favorite Batman runs. I enjoy reading it.
It's probably my favorite issue so far. You know, I'm not willing to jump ahead and make grand statements like you are, because you as previously established, you rate movies too quick and then later go, oh wait a minute, I maybe have overcooked this a little.
I look at it as where some of the other Batman stories that we've gotten, and right now we're kind of between Tech and Batman and Robin in this. We're in a very good spot for Batman. This though, I look forward to reading Fractions Batman. When I went to get this week, I went, oh yeah, we got a Fraction Batman issue. This is good. And I can't say that about a main Batman book in a long time, right? Like I was like that with the I'm drawing a blank on names here. The Hayden Sherman art. Why am I drawing a blank?
Dan Waters, the Dark Patterns.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. Dark Patterns. I was like that with that, but that was a mini, right? So I get excited to read this, and that's a good sign.
Oh, sure. It's only 5 issues in, so I'm not ready to make any grand statements. Like, ask me again at issue 25, and maybe I'll start assessing about how it compares to other runs. You know, I've seen great runs fall apart after 12 issues, so that's not like... But I will say I did this as my favourite issue so far. I thought this was delightful in every way. It made me care about just these two characters meeting. I didn't think when they set up this meeting, this date, quote-unquote, last issue, that it was going to be the entire focus of this one. And I don't know how I'd have felt about that if you told me it was going to be the entire focus, but it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Art was solid throughout. The car chase stuff all looked great. And then all the build-up and the banter to this final cliffhanger was very well paced. It was basically flawless for me as far as like an issue of a comic book goes. So, now, having said that, you're going to think I'm going to say a 10. I'm not going to say a 10. But like I say, basically flawless just in the sense that there's nothing to complain about. There's nothing for me to, dock points for. So with all of that, what are you giving Batman issue 5?
I'm going to give this a 9.5.
I am also giving it a 9.5. I thought this was fantastic. So here we go. Why is it not a 10? I don't really have an answer for you. It's just a gut feeling, okay? just trust me. It's a gut feeling. All right. And to imagine some people want us to read more KO tie-ins. too much good stuff otherwise to read from DC. All right, next up. Absolute Green Lantern issue 10, Al Ewing writing with said Kotian on the art, or maybe Kotian, but I'm going to go with my gut and say Kotian as my pronunciation, but I could be wrong. So yeah, this is another, much like the Absolute Batman Arkham book, this is another artist I don't think I've ever heard of, so I had no idea what to expect from the art going out of this. But so this issue teases a couple of things that they're doing with Todd Rice, but we'll come back to that because they do like a sort of fallout of it at the end. It kind of bookends the book. But when we get into the main story, it goes obviously back to the cliffhanger that Goldface here has just shot Joe in the apartment, and we pick up there. And I liked all of this. I thought his intimidating demeanor, the way he's like talking to her and saying, I don't actually want to kill you. I actually would like you to survive. But Jo is like fighting for her life the entire time. She can't use her powers because of all the gold bullets in her blood, which leads to her like pulling out the bullets by hand with some pliers, in a few pages time, which is pretty badass. But she actually gets away from him by not using her powers, just by punching him as hard as she can in the dick. And I thought it was really interesting that he gets worried and thinks, oh my god, there's blood, what did you do to me, what did you do to me? And I'm like, it's her blood, you dipshit. She didn't punch you so hard that your dick exploded.
Oh my god, him punching. I thought she twisted it off. Because there's blood there. And he's like, it's not my blood. Oh, what'd you do? Because when he goes, there's blood. What did you do? What did you? I was like, oh my god, Ewing's going for it. Like, Joe's a survivor. And then, Joe, and that's just her way to get out.
Joe the Dick Ripper Mullen.
That's right. It's the one time where that meme can be brought back, the old dick twist.
Oh, dear.
So... But yeah, I really like Goldface. This is my first like interaction with Goldface, even in the Green Lantern mainstream stuff. I like this version a lot because there's this intimidation factor until he gets punched in the balls, and then everyone's the same, right?
That's all it is. Well, I like that. I like that she kind of musters up enough like Green Lantern, because she crawls to the kitchen, right, and she's a big trail of blood. She gets in there and he comes after her, but she's able to like muster enough energy despite the gold bullets just to like kind of like melt the handle and the lock on the door to fuse it with the frame so that the door won't open. So he's like he has to sort of try and kick it in, but that's what gives her time to grab like the pliers. She goes looking in the drawer and she finds pliers and she goes basically just hoping to get the bullets out, and we get her like flashing back to these pivotal moments of like Cameron being mad at her and just some other pivotal memories. And I love just how red that page gets, where the bullet, like the one bullet's already out and then she pulls the second one out, and how the entire gutters are that same color as the blood in the bottom panel, so it just feels like we're surrounded by blood by that point. It feels quite gnarly. So But by that point, she's taken the bullets out, she's back at full power, she's healed up, and she's floating in the air, and she's like all ready. And her hair's all sort of sticking up, so she almost looks like a Medusa type figure with all the hair kind of out like that.
Absolutely. And the way that she's floating the needle nose pliers next to her too, she does almost look like a Greek statue of like a goddess.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, your powers can't affect me because I'm gold. That's why I'm dressed in gold and painted gold. You can't do anything to me. And she's like, yeah, that's true, but I can use my powers to move these pliers. And she just throws the pliers with the power at his eye and impales his eye with the. And it seems like he's dead to me. Maybe he's not, but he looks pretty dead.
He'll wish he was. The way that she says, dig the gold out of that. I was like, yeah, quick.
I wonder, there's something so like simple about a Green Lantern, because obviously here we're saying gold like doesn't work versus yellow as the old Green Lantern mythos, right? I love the idea of a Green Lantern being like, all right, fine, I'll just pick up this knife and stab you then, the old-fashioned way.
All right, I don't gotta use a construct to make you bleed,
I mean, sure, you can dodge my Green Lantern energy, but you can't dodge a wrench. Or a ball.
Dodge a wrench, dodge a ball, right?
Yeah.
The old rule. So,
that's the old rule. Yeah. So, and then things just fall, like, this is all like sort of told sequentially, where immediately Simon and, what's the lady he's with, his partner?
Let me pull this up on there.
But she, they come out of the apartment and they're like, "Oh God, where's?" Because they're looking for Cameron. They're like, "Where's Cameron? Where's Cameron?" And they see Hal Jordan lying there, and they get worried and they think something's wrong. So there's a bit of a confrontation here where he pulls his gun on Joe, and then Joe like makes him go flying back into the wall. And I actually really liked that the partner's like, "Hey, no, Baz, don't provoke her." And then he goes flying into the wall, and she's like, "I literally saw that coming." Like, it's my power set. I literally saw that coming. I told you not to.
It's Agent Limbo.
Agent Limbo. Thank you. I was never going to remember that.
No.
So yeah, so they're like, she's like, "Damn it, where's Chase? Damn it, you broke her heart and you've been in this mess. Like, why the hell, what's going on?" And then Chase just walks in casually and is like, "What the hell happened to my apartment?" And that's obviously when some stuff's explained between panels, and they're all standing over Goldface's like head, and yeah, he's definitely dead. There's no way he's alive.
No, there's a blood coming out through the back. So yeah.
So no, So I like this issue a lot because one, the suspense of like the attack and like Joe getting away and trying to figure out a way out of it was really good just from a suspense point of view. But I also like how badass it made her look because she was able to pull bullets out with some pliers and then gave him what for and like he had the element of surprise before, and she does tell the others like he looked like John Stewart, like he completely changed his appearance, and he was doing the fake voice and all the rest of it. Like he was convincing. But they basically trace it back to Hector Hammond. In fact, I think it's Chase. It's because so they have Agent Limbo. She looks into his head right with her powers and sees what she can find. And she says, "Hey, that guy's real name is Keith Kenyon, and he worked for a man named Hammond, Hector Hammond." And then Chase immediately drops the "I'm a badass" look and says, "Shit, we have to go right now." So that name provokes fear in Chase. So she knows the type of like person they're dealing with, where the rest of them are all just kind of like, "Who's that?" So I like that because Chase just walks in and acts like so cool all the time because that's her demeanor. The idea that she drops that and looks like she's shitting a brick, I think sells the idea. And then obviously that leads us straight into the bookend scene, which is that Hammond is doing these tests where he's just pumping all of this dark energy from all the stuff that corrupted Hal Jordan originally. He's just pumping that into Todd Rice and like drowning him in it to see what happens. And the ending where the scientist is like, "Hey, the results aren't good. Like, yeah, we've completely surrounded him in this obsidian material, but like there's no readings from him. It's like there's no humanity in there. But we can't get to him though because this obsidian shell's like completely indestructible or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, that's great news. Do you think I care about the humanity?" And then the final page is this big monstrous, black crystal kind of cocoon that apparently Todd Rice is surrounded by. So I think it's kind of interesting.
Out of that thing, I think container he was in. It's
interesting to me that we're doing Todd Rice stuff. I know they set him up previously in the town, like we did mention him before, but I think it's kind of cool that we're actually incorporating like the son of Alan Scott. Not that he's the son of Alan Scott in this world necessarily, but the idea that we're incorporating those branches of Green Lantern mythos into this here.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. So. I think he was right because he talked about his dad, and we saw the Alan Scott stuff.
Oh, maybe he was
in Evergreen.
Yeah, fair enough. I just forgot that.
I like how it opens where it looks like those pages of Oa that we've been used to, and then it's revealed to be him looking up from the bottom of this well.
Yeah, it's the old ball. It's not even like it's like a tank that they've got him in because they're going to pump stuff in. It's very the Ring. It's very like looking up at the top of the light rim coming in the entrance. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And it talks about how he must be without fear entirely with that, and then that's when it pulls up and you're just like, oh man, they're doing experiments. That is not good. A lot of cool stuff in this one.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think this book has only gotten better now that we're settled into more kind of like, because the mystery was fun for that first arc, but I think now that we're in kind of like we're actually progressing the story forward a bit more, we can develop the characters better. I think Chase has been a cool addition. Like I say, I think the suspense of this one was really well played out, and then everything they're doing with Hammond's fun as well. I think it's just like clicking in a way that it was clicking in a different way before, but now it feels like it's clicking as an ongoing comic book in a much bigger sense.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think I'm not saying the art here was amazing, but I think it was pretty solid, all things considered.
There are certain pages I'm not a big fan of. of it, and that's fine. It comes down to taste. Like some of the chase stuff towards the end, I think the faces look a little bit wonky. But all the big actiony things really are real. Like her looking like Medusa, floating above with the pliers hovering, all that stuff. All the stuff with Goldface looks great.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to kill it.
It's showing kind of like, like all the expressions really well, where he's like in pain or mad that he just got kicked in the nuts or whatever. Like it's doing all that stuff. I kind of agree. Like Chase, I mean, it's not even like all the stuff in general. I think everyone else's face is fine. I think Chase, for whatever reason, he's went just a little bit too I don't know, like stereotypical hot blonde, I guess, for the way he's drawn her with the big lips and stuff.
It's almost like a caricature of a hot blonde.
Whereas I think the others, like I think Simon looks fine. I think Joe looks fine. I think Limbo, I think she looks. I think her with her streak actually with the sunglasses does look quite good, to be honest.
Yeah, even the people with Hector Hammond look fine. Like Hammond looks so sleazy. Like that is done so well. So
what we're really just saying here is that his face for Chase is maybe a little bit too much, but otherwise, I liked everything else it was doing art wise. So, yeah, I mean, I think these 4 books that we've started with are the first 4 I read, so I was having a very good week of comics. Not that it goes off a cliff or anything anytime soon, but it just, like, I was like, damn, a lot of good books out this week. Maybe I'm appreciating them more because we had none last week, but, I really like this issue, so, yeah, what are you giving Absolute Green Lantern, Matt?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
I think I'm tempted to as well. Which is it's insane because I've given everything at least an 8.5 so far, but honestly, I think that's where I'm at. So we both agreed on that. That's 3 in a row, by the way. We've given the same score to, just to feel weird. All right, Batgirl issue 15, legacy number 220. Tate Brombal writing with Steven Segovia on the art. So this is largely Cass confronting Nyssa about what really happened. If they took this place by force. Nyssa kind of explains that, well, they did, but it was like her father did it, and she was just kind of there, and maybe in the retellings of these stories, like they've painted her as like, but she's like, I never actually, no blood was ever, on my blade. I never actually attacked anyone. Raz kind of did it by surprise, but she obviously was sort of associated with him, whatever. I will say, I am kind of looking forward to this arc being done now, because while I'm still really into Cass as a character and like what she's like going through, and her brother as well, to be fair, I like their like little tiff where she kind of like says, "Oh, you'll get away from me. You're not like me," kind of thing. At this point, I am kind of losing a little bit of track and focus on like the conflict here between like the Unburied and Nyssa's group, and who did what when that led to this. Like, there's been so much like going back and forth, and because this issue also ends with a reveal that Jaya, who's one of the several characters in this group that have been here for a few issues now, is betrayed them and is working with the Unburied, even though it feels like Nyssa also says something like, no, everything's going to plan, as if this was always like intended to happen. I kind of found myself getting towards the end, and then especially once that ending hit, going like, I don't know if I'm that like invested in the plot of this arc anymore that much. But I'm still liking Cass a lot.
There's so many twists and turns. I don't care about the plot. I care about what happens to Cass.
Yes.
And now, to a lesser extent, Tingy. Right? Because I do like their bond. I like the whole brother-sister dynamic and the whole idea that because they get into it a little bit here, that it's almost like when she became a mother the first time, Lady Shiva, and that weakness was put into her because of her daughter, she chose that when it came to dealing with Tingy, she wasn't going to have that same kind of weakness, right? So that's why she would keep things at a distance with him. She would still show up and visit, and he had this idea of what he thought about his mom or whatever. So I do like their dynamic then and how that makes them, bonded. But they're like, hey, we kind of had crappy parents. Well, not his dad, but she did growing up. But that's not who we are. We get to choose who we get to be, and I like that. That's kind of who Cass still is going with. The rest of all the characters and the betrayal and that's not really what happened. This is what really happened. I just don't care anymore. And I really like this kind of stuff. I love mystical, factions against each other and getting revenge and all this stuff. There's just been too much.
Yeah, I think it's just there's been too many elements to it, and it kind of it's maybe this issue also feels like not much really happens other than just Cass has this heart to heart with Jaya, who ends up being the one that kind of betrays them. And she explains that, this flower, it grows from mud. It can't grow from good soil. It has to grow from like the worst soil ever. But once it reaches the surface, it blooms into this beautiful thing. And she's basically saying that's what Cass is. Like, you come from a dark past, like a dark beginning, but you're important and special and beautiful once you've become full and your destiny's your own. And it just kind of feels like maybe we're kind of regurgitating some of the same kind of core ideas when, looking at like where we've went with these characters, like if we had developed more of a relationship between Cass and Jaya, this might mean more when she betrays. But we've had Jaya, we've had Nissa, we've had Angel Breaker, and then there was the shapeshifter character whose name I don't remember, but like she was around as well. Nope. It really was maybe a case of like just too many characters and like not enough meaningful advancements in plot over a couple of issues. It just I don't know. I feel like I enjoyed the first arc of this book a lot more now, especially since we're near the end of this arc now, so I can compare them a bit more evenly between them. So yeah, I don't know. It's just, I was finding myself having more just kind of overall critiques of this one as I was reading it.
Yeah, and at the beginning, when they're in like the vision type thing, Jaya tells Cass, "You'll be betrayed again and again and again." And it's who you become through all of that. Like, what are you going to choose? So I do like that messaging and how it works with the lotus flower, that it comes up through the mud and it must poke its way through if it wants to survive. It has to search for the light. And comparing that to Cass is all well and good. But
that's fine. Yeah, I have no problem with that comparison, certainly. But it's just like. Bronze Tiger, not Bronze Tiger, Jade Tiger, that's what he's calling himself.
Jade Tiger.
Yeah, Jade Tiger, like, goes snooping to try and, like, be a hero, and he stumbles into, like, the unburied guys in the cell, who basically just laughs and says, my people are already on their way here. We've got underground tunnels. Like, we don't have to attack from up above where all your turret guns are. We can attack from within. And they do a whole tense thing where he runs off to try and tell people, and he gets there just at the last second before they appear. And that's when it's revealed at the end that Jaya's, like, helped them in here, and that she was always working with them. Sorry, hit my mic. I don't know how loud that was. But it just... on you go.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, because he's running to tell Nissa, and then Angel Breaker's behind him, it's going exactly as planned. And then with Jaya, it's like, well, wait. What is the ultimate goal here? Is this how she's going to take out the Unburied? Is allowing them to come in and take them out here in this in Samsara, I believe that's the name of it.
Which might mean that Jaya's not betrayed them. She's actually a triple agent.
Right. So that's where it's hard to care, right? Because it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna stick on because I need to know where this book goes, and I like Cass because all that development's been really, really good.
Well, no, I mean, I was never in question of like, I never even once considered that I'm like wanting to drop anything. This is just, I'm just kind of done with this arc, and I'm looking forward to her being back in Gotham, doing something a little bit different. I feel like we've been talking about the Unburied for quite a while now, and I don't know if they've gotten any more interesting this arc compared to what they were before. Well,
I feel like they've done the whole heel turn to face from the beginning, because once we find out their past and how they were kind of a peaceful people until Ross showed up, and now because they've been provoked, that's what's caused them to go to war with the Al Ghuls and with Nissa, and then Nissa's clearly running a whole different plan. I'm almost like, well, no, of course we'd be on their side. They were the ones that were done dirty first. So to go from that, and so I have a hard time rooting against the Unburied, especially not knowing what exactly is going on. Yeah, but from what Brombal's telling us, it's like, well, no, they were the slighted ones, right? They're the the Ghouls are bad.
But then you've got him in the jail cell laughing like a villain as he's saying, "Oh, we're going to come and like take it." I don't know. Yeah. I don't really know which side to be on, and I guess the point is that Cass isn't sure what side to be on either. But I'm not feeling that like compelled. I feel just kind of lost in the story as opposed to like, I think this is the sort of thing where you want to be like, oh god, it's tense trying to pick which side we want to root for, but instead of that, I'm just kind of like, I just don't know who to care about right now. Is kind of how I feel.
Yeah, no, that's it. I had a team cast. That's all I know. All right, like I want her and Kenji to get out unscathed, and we'll be good. Get them back to Gotham, because I want to see the hopefulness of Tenji interact with the surliness of Damian. I feel like those two are contrary to one another. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, all right. I don't really have much more to add, to be honest. I feel sad saying this was kind of my first downer issue of the week, because it wasn't terrible or anything, but it just, no. I wasn't in love with it. So what are you giving Batgirl issue 15?
I'm going to give this a 7.
I am going to say 6.5. All right, there we go. Next up, Cheetah and Cheshire robbed the Justice League, issue 6. Greg Rucka writing with Nicola Scott on the art. So yeah, this wraps everything up, and what the real end goal of it was. They never wanted the power bank all along. That was just the distraction, because you see, they knew that the spell to transport them could be traced by other magic users, particularly Zatanna in this case. So the Justice League show up, but when the Justice League get there, obviously this team of villains, led by Black Adam, are the ones that are trying to take the power bank. So the Justice League are so busy with them, and because several of his members are magic users, basically the whole goal here was like, no, there's going to be so much magic getting fired from various people at that battlegrounds, they'll never be able to lock on to which magic took them away from there. So this was actually always their escape plan, was to confuse the Justice League by making sure they were focused on these other characters.
They're escaping under the cover of chaos.
Yes. So Clarion didn't betray them.
And this is how you do... Yeah. I was like, this is how you do double and triple turns. Right? This is how we stay invested. Because I was like, oh, Clarion, you little jerk. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, we sent him there. Like, we sent Clarion to broker a deal with Black Adam, because it's part of the plan. And because I trust Greg Rucka as a writer, right? I'm just like, okay, let's see where this goes. It ultimately went to one of the most satisfying, endings that I think I've gotten in a very long time.
Well, I mean, it's not even about trust, because like it doesn't like it doesn't work the same ways. The story element we didn't think worked in Batgirl isn't the same here for multiple reasons. I don't think it's just about a trust thing with the writer, because for one, like the type of story this is a heist where all the characters have been really well determined. Like, compare this to this Batgirl arc that we were just critiquing a bit, is that this, but it's not like all the characters are super big characters that we're all super familiar with. No, we've got Hazard, and we've got Alea, who's this super strength girl that's new pretty much, like
featherweight,
featherweight, yeah. So we've got all these characters who are kind of like either new or C tier or whatever, and they're still so well established by the time we get to the heist. And because it is a heist story where part of the plan isn't revealed to us, it's kind of naturally built in to have some turns and like, oh, this was really the plan all along type moments. It feels more natural here in a lot of ways. Anyway, so once they're away from everything though, and it's like, oh, because Featherweight's pissed at Clarion at first until they realize this was always part of the plan. They basically say, okay, we don't have the power bank, and everyone else is bummed out because they thought that was the point of the whole heist. But they're like, hey, no, we actually set up something when we were there. Clarion set up a spell to basically get everything else in the trophy room. So they walk into the room where they're staying, and there's just like a big pile of all this stuff, like all these superhero weapons and artifacts and just everything that you could think of that would be there. So they all just kind of take
a container of Starros.
Yeah. And they don't even say, oh, we'll sell it all and split the money. They basically just say, hey, everyone help yourself, but let's be fair. Let's make sure there's enough for everyone, and just to take the stuff you want. And it's all just very kind of pleasant. And they all say their goodbyes, and they're all going to different places. The little payoff to the potential romance with Clarion's crush on Featherweight is Featherweight's like, hey, I'm a bit old for you. But she kisses him on the cheek and says, maybe in a few years, come and speak to me and we'll talk. But yeah,
I forgot she's supposed to be like 25, or she's in her 20s And just because the way that they draw her, she makes her seem a lot younger. So when she was like, "Oh, I'm a bit older for you," and I was like, "Wait, she is?" So then I had to go do some research, and I was like, "Oh yeah, early on when we get introduced, they bring that up." So I was like, "Oh, that's a nice way to bring it back around."
Yeah, so that's kind of the payoff to that, and like others say, the goodbyes and whatever. But then we find out that this loot itself wasn't even the real reason for this heist. The real reason for this heist ties back into what a lot of the first issue was about. Because if you remember, the first issue was largely focusing on Cheetah's pain and her like hunger that comes from Urskatarga and all that stuff. And it turns out what they really wanted was the whatever the item is that will let them summon him. So Cheetah can try and kill him. And that's actually what the end of the story is that, he shows up, he's pissed that he's been summoned by her, and calls her a bunch of nasty things, and she goes to town to try and kill him. She does, and the end of the story, which it says the end, or, a new beginning, potentially, is Barbara Ann looks human again, although with a couple of little Cheetah spots just on her legs or whatever. And I was thinking, I wonder if she's gained the ability to just like turn between like Cheetah form and human form. Is that what she's achieved here, aside from just being free of his whims that obviously he does just to torture her?
Yeah, which I do like, because that follows the line of when Rucka set up her origin in Wonder Woman #8, right? The often referenced issue. And so to see this come full circle, and the whole reason for the heist was to get this item so she can summon him and kill him and be free of it. And she finally gets to be her own woman, and she's not tied to this curse of Urskatega that Rucka, started all those years ago, man. We're talking about the beginning of Rebirth, when we started the show, So to see her win and transformed, she's still Cheetah, right? She still has some spots, and, they tease a new beginning. Like, again, so I talk about one of the most fulfilling endings. Like, I was like, oh man, Rucka did it, So yeah, it left me with a big stupid smile on my face.
Yeah, no, it does feel like he's closing off a little bit of something that he set up a while ago. But, he was playing with so many characters here that I wouldn't be surprised to see a bunch of these characters again, down the line. Who knows where we're going with some of this stuff, but yeah. The
other big moment I love is where Question puts it together, right? We do that as they're explaining how they got out, and Question's on the satellite and sees the thing that they've done. They drew the circle, but then they go into the trophy room, and she gets in there and she just has, the expletive as she sees it. And I was like, oh, that's another well done moment.
No, that's good. It's revealing all this stuff, and then you get that wide panel of all their faces smiling, like all the characters who didn't know what the plan was, and just their reaction to all the loot. They're like, okay, there you go. That explains that stuff. So no, it's it's very pleasant conclusion, and it's like there's almost not a whole lot to say about it in a lot of ways, just because it, like, other than the final little reveals of what was going on, because several pages are taken up by action at the start when the Justice League show up, and that's like fun and it looks great because Nicola Scott's art's fantastic, and then you've got all the payoff stuff. But because like they did such a good job setting up all these characters, there's not actually that much time for like wild new plot directions. It's mostly, here's what we actually achieved, and like the other characters finding that out. But it's all fun to hear, and I actually like how it does tie back in, because I think issue 1 of this probably was my favorite issue, which is not a knock on the rest, but I thought like just focusing on Cheetah's struggle was such a good like focus, that because obviously once we left that behind because we were doing all the heist stuff, we weren't like, that wasn't this thing that was in the foreground. So I really like that we came back around to that at the end, which makes a lot of sense to like go back around to that, and that's why we spent so much time doing that in issue 1, because that's what the story was always really about, was saving Cheetah from Uzkataga. So yeah, good stuff.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and just the whole double turn here where they needed a patsy, and that patsy was Black Adam. So, and they end up drawing a fight between Black Adam and the Justice League so they can get clear. And I loved all that, because there was this ominous threat of Black Adam throughout, right? When we get revealed with Clarion, I think that was like issue 2 or 3, of Clarion with them, and I know it was all part of the plan. And I just, I love a good heist movie that once things are revealed and you look at it in a different context throughout, and it gives you a completely different story from what we had just seen. So This managed to do all of those. And then, like you said, the reactions play a heavy role in this one. And Nicola Scott does some wonders. Like, again, the question one, the one with all the faces that you mentioned of them seeing the loot. And then, Barbara Ann at the end, her in that. And you just kind of get a side profile, but you can see the contentment on her face, that she achieved what she needed to.
And I wonder, does this new, improved Barbara Ann, do we actually get her meeting Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman at any point in the near future? Is that something we'll do? Is King kind of is they're him and Rucka in cahoots? Is this setting something up for later? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it is, but it would be cool if it does.
Yeah. But I would love to see how this reformed Barbara Ann fits in with what the story that Tom King's telling over there too. Yeah. Because this is a different Cheetah than even the one that we saw help her, in those issues. So, but yeah, just Greg Rucka stays winning when it comes to Cheetah. I should not be surprised, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So no, really satisfying conclusion. And brought everything together. So really no complaints, honestly. Yeah. All right. I mean, I guess if I had maybe a critique, and it's just a minor one, is maybe just she defeats Uzgar Targa quite easily, relatively, because it's 2 pages. But they have to fit it in right at the end, so I get why they didn't want to make it this big epic fight where she has to struggle really hard to eventually do it. It's a bit more empowering that she's able to just beat the shit out of him as quickly as she can.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like this was her entire goal, and she's not going to be stopped, and she's going to do it, and she does it real quick. And I'm glad that she does it by herself as well, because I love the camaraderie throughout with Cheshire and her and Shoes, but the fact that she does it on her own too, I think that really drives home, that ending. So
yeah. All right, what you giving Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Justice League issue 6?
I'm gonna give this a 9.
Damn. I am going 8.5. I've got a lot of 8.5s this week, but that's okay. That's just where I'm feeling. It was a very 8.5 week, and that's a good place to be. If I get tons of books that are 8.5s in a week, I've had a pretty good week. No, good stuff. All right, Poison Ivy issue 40. WIllow Wilson writing with David Gianfelice on the art. If I even get close to pronouncing that correct, I'll take some stars for it. So this is you on your own, Matt. Take it away.
Yeah. So we're post the whole struggle with the Order of the Green and the Bogged Venus and the Green, and now Ivy is teaching the Order of the Green Knight how to actually be good eco-terrorists, right? So she leads them into Gotham, and they're storming this building, and she's taking out the security, with some of her plant stuff. And they get in and they start stealing information. And one of the guys goes, "Wait, why don't we just blow this place up?" And Ivy explains to us through narration, if you blow up an oil rig, you're only doing more damage than just taking the software that makes the oil rig run, right? We have to make things as complicated for them as we can because we're trying to save the earth, right? We're not trying to destroy stuff. And so they hack the information of where are they real quick? Because it ends up playing a big part in what happens, but they're in this building of this major company. And she ends up blowing it up anyways, right? She rigged it with a seed bomb that'll fill the entire building with Japanese knotweed, which I guess can grow through concrete, right? Because it's found on the slopes of volcanoes and whatnot. And as it blows up, she gets surrounded by police, and she ends up essentially allowing herself get caught. Because she says, I can be a symbol, a symbol can be a negotiating tactic. She gets brought in front of the commissioner, who is Vandal Savage. And they bring this girl in who's supposed to be a monitor to keep an eye on police misconduct. But but Vandal Savage runs the police department like he's the king, So Pam ends up being able to kind of goad him into doing things. And when the monitor tries to speak up, he yells at her, and Pam realizes like, oh, I might have misread this whole situation. I might have gotten in over my head. So she ends up making a deal with Vandal Savage, and Savage wants her to meet the new crime prevention tech czar, a lady named Marie Henley. And she comes in and she looks like a typical tech douche, wearing like a AR, like half visor, like it's on one eye. And she's helped create for the police department in Gotham an AI model that'll stop crime before it happens. So we're talking like pre-crime type stuff. Yeah.
Grok's in Gotham. Oh no.
Yeah, right. So they want Ivy to essentially greenwash this new technology, because it's still going to take up the same amount as we hear generative AI does now, right? All the different water and whatnot. And Ivy's like, well, I guess I don't have a choice. So she thinks she can work with this girl, so, Vandal Savage gets some hits in saying that you should be thanking me and whatever. So they go out and we see this technology in action in this like very rundown neighborhood. A kid's out trying to play basketball and the police show up and admonish him, being like, hey, pick up basketball games can end up going into a place of violence, especially when they're played at this time of day. So go back in the house for the good of everybody else. And so the kid's just like, wait, did I just yell out for something I didn't even do? And Ivy's like, well, this is not, you're preventing people from living now, right? You're adding this AI model to everything they do. That's not security, that's control. And as they're walking through, they're seeing, a protest against the police commissioner and against the people in charge in Gotham. And Ivy realizes now that this tech lady cannot be worked with, because she starts talking about economic Darwinism. Basically, like, these old neighborhoods need to go because they've proven they can't provide money. And that's the real value in things. It's not, life becoming better for everybody. It's if you can turn a profit. And they end up getting to this, like, where the kid was going to go play basketball, and it's just a bunch of garbage. And we find out that the water's been shut off because it's being diverted from the city into the cooling towers for this AI model. And that's where the tech lady tells her, like, hey, if it doesn't make profit, it doesn't make sense. So this is how we're redeveloping Gotham. And if you don't want to help, we know the people you've been hanging out with. She brings up her airheaded blonde assistant, who's Janet, right? That little house plant in a suit, which is Peter Undine, your little cult following. And then she brings up Harley. And this is where Pam starts to get really upset. And she's like, you better watch out or you're going to end up a walking corpse. And she ends up fighting with this lady, and she makes vines go. And the kid that was going to go play basketball takes a video. And Pam's like, it was just an impulse, a moment of rage, but it was about to become something much bigger. And knowing where this goes based off of solicits, which I won't spoil for people, I feel like this is the start of a new era for Pam. And yeah, it's a little bit weird from where we were, because I was getting, following all the threads that Wilson had started from the beginning. And it feels now we're in a completely new era where at times it didn't feel like Wilson's version of Pam. It was a little bit weird. It seems like there's been a lot of changes to move the story forward, whereas a lot of time, we were spending whole 2 or 3 issues in Pam's mind debating what to do with Janet and all this other stuff. And now we're moving so quick. The art by Gianfelice is, like, it's fine. It's not where the art has been. They do moments really well, like all the stuff with the protests and the tech lady and all this. It's handled pretty well, but it feels like it's just missing something that's almost like, I don't want to say it's lifeless, because it's not lifeless, but some of the art feels like not as rich as the art that we've had before in this book. And I feel like part of that richness drives this book because it feels alive. And here it just feels like, that house style from DC. Like Pam looks like Pam, and all the reaction shots are fine, and we still have the same breakdowns, but it's missing something. It feels a bit empty. So that's a bit disappointing. But yeah, Pam's still trying to save the world in the only way she knows how, and that's to create as much trouble. So I will give this issue a 7.5.
Okay. 7.5 it is. Inputting data. Alright. JSA issue 15. Jeff Lemire writing with Gavin Guidry on the art. So, I mean, again, this just kind of picks up like the 4 or 5 groups of characters, the plot threads that have been going last issue. Starting off with all the magic characters, talking about Corrigan and the Spectre and all that. This was another decent issue. I will admit there was like a little moment as I was sort of like going through my books where I thought, well, I read JSA. Do I want to keep reading JSA? Because it keeps not being terrible, but just like, while this year one's definitely been a bit better than that first arc, like it absolutely is. Part of me was thinking, but this is one that I could just probably dip out of and not feel bad about it later. And I still ended up reading it. I ended up saying, you know what, no, it's fine. I'll read it at least one more time to see how I feel. And yeah, like it was pleasant enough. Like I don't have strong like negative feelings by any stretch, but it's also not like, hitting the high notes that I want it to either. It's, I don't know, it's in this weird no man's land of just kind of being all right.
Yeah. And I feel like it's going to read great in trade because I feel like it feels very stilted because of all these stories ongoing. Like we didn't even touch on the Hawks in this one, right? And let me go through.
No Hawks.
No. So, no. And I kind of forgot what's going on with Starco, right? That they're the center of all of this. And I feel like that's going to be what brings them all together, right? Them investigating all of that. But yeah, there's enough good moments. I do like that when Johnny Thunder shows up and he calls Jay, and he's like, "No, I'm the Flash." I don't know who's Jay. He's like, "Come on, you don't even wear a mask, Mr. Garrick." Like, I'm not stupid, And then he shows him the Thunderbolt, which I thought was a fun moment. So there's still some cool moments throughout. It's really taking its time, and it's starting to make me forget the whole reason that we're doing all of this, Yeah,
I think, I don't know, it's definitely one of the big things we talked about last time was that it's a perfectly fine book, but it doesn't really work as a year one for people who don't know who the characters are. Like you kind of need to have a good idea of who they all are for this to like really flow or make sense, because there's so many of them that if you don't know them, at least enough of them, it would probably feel too like, who are all these people? This is very overwhelming. Anyway, so the issue starts with like basically everyone's saying to Dr. Fate, we cannot intervene. We've been forbidden from the Lords of Order to intervene. We cannot do that. So you have to let all this Spectre stuff play out. Which Fate at the end of the issue shows up and betrays and just wants to help him anyway. So that's going on. There's more stuff with Jay and Alan and Corrigan all kind of splitting up, even though Jay doesn't want them to split up, but they all want to investigate stuff on their own. Then he meets Johnny Thunder in the same tunnels. We have more of Hippolyta and the Atom searching the office or whatever of like some of this group, the Nazis, and in comes, I assume, a version of Cheetah, a Golden Age version.
Yeah, Tigress.
Yeah, is it Tigress?
But yes, but essentially it is Cheetah. Same kind of vibe.
Okay.
Just with a tiger theme. I think she's more of a Catwoman-y type. I don't think there's a much magic type going on. But yeah.
I mean, I probably had the most fun with this part of it, just because one, the banter of Atom and Hippolyta was a bit more fun, because it felt like, he was constantly kind of impressed by who she is and whatnot. And the fight scene, well, quick, I think was good from an art perspective. Her kicking Tigress in the face. And then we go back to Hourman and Sandman, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, this was also a plot I'd forgotten about. And this is kind of, like they get thrown into like a cell or whatever, and I think that's Captain Atom, I assume.
Or Commander Seal. Like,
maybe, yeah.
Because remember, Captain Atom wasn't around until after the atomic bomb, and this is before
That's
all
true.
that, right?
That's true. This
is before World War II.
It's a metal looking dude, I guess is what I'm saying here. It's the silver looking metal dude.
So I'm wondering if it's maybe it's Nate Haywood. I can't remember the exact timeline when he shows up.
Yeah. He's one of those characters I just forget exists, if I'm honest. So he never even entered my brain as a possibility. Yeah. But yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Cyclotron dispatches them real quick, which I thought was weird. So, yeah. I will say, the highlight of the issue was the Hippolyta and Atom stuff. And because I love seeing the Atom, this version of him, because he's so different than what we associate with the Atom. I mean, he's like telling her, I'm a wrestler, not a track runner. Like, slow down. And then when he tells her after she knocks out Tigress, he's like, who are you, lady? And she's like, would you believe in, or where are you from? Right? So would you believe an island filled with women like me? And he's like, hey, I have a hard time believing there's anyone else like you. And just his kind of, he's kind of starstruck a little bit, I feel like, by this big tall woman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's actually... the rest of it was
just kind of there.
Yeah, I don't know if he's actually from there, but I'm just imagining like a thick New York accent on him for some reason.
Yeah. It definitely got that blue collar kind of vibe to him,
Yeah. So anyway, then the ending happens where Corrigan's trying to fight off the Spectre, and then Dr. Fate shows him and says, no, you must let the Spectre come out. The fate of the world demands it. Blah, 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 and that's where it ends. It's perfectly fine. I don't feel a lot of strong feelings for it, really. That's kind of the big thing, is I read it, I consume it, there's some decent like character like voices in there. He understands who the characters are, but I get to the end and I just don't feel a whole lot of anything to really talk about, if I'm honest. Like, I don't really no pages stick out or scenes stick out where I'm like, oh, this was such a cool interaction that built up to this. It kind of feels like, again, it's so spread out from so many groups of characters that there's only time for a little bit of each group, so you don't really get to do anything that meaningful, and so much of it is just, we can't intervene, we're going to split up, we're we're losing a fight to this guy. It doesn't really feel like anything meaningful progresses in any one of the plots in any great way.
No.
So
that said, Gavin Guidry draws a hell of this era. Like, I will say, perfect kind of artist for this, silver golden age, with some silver age vibes here. But yeah, I'll say the art is by far the thing that kept me going on this one. And I guess we got the answer, because last time we didn't realize if Corrigan was the Spectre yet, but we found out that here he just is fighting it, which I do like, and that's the reason we bring the Shadow back in, all those magic users. We just see Dan Garrett, and anytime we can see Golden Age Blue Beetle, I'm a fan of that. But outside of Nostalgia Pops, not much else going on.
It's just a bit empty feeling right now. So it's sort of thing where, like, I'm like, it's kind of serious go. We're at issue 15, right? We have tried this through multiple arcs now, and we're still feeling very underwhelmed. I feel like, I'm not saying I'm definitely dropping it, but like, if the next time this has got an issue, it's like a busier week, or I'm struggling and I want to cut something, like, this is an easy cut when when that situation arises. That's how I feel right now. Yeah. So, yeah.
Definitely going to make it through this arc. I'm definitely in for the year one to see where it goes, and then we'll see from there, because I could very much, like, I could just get this in trade later. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that I'm eagerly chomping to get to. It was the last thing I read this time around.
No.
So
it's an easy enough read, but it's that sort of thing where after like 8 other books, it feels a little bit of a chore having to throw this one on the pile at the end.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, I'll do. What are you rating GSA?
Yeah. I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
6 for me. It's just fine. It's inoffensive, and that's about it. So 6 out of 10. All right. Adventures of Superman, the Book of Kal-El, issue 5. Phillip Kennedy Johnson writing, with Scott Godlewski on the art. So this is the what do they call it again? The
the Sun Eater.
No, well, yeah, the Sun Eater, the place that they're fighting for here, Lantern Home.
Oh, the Lantern Hold.
Yeah, Lantern Hold.
Yeah, Lantern Home.
So they're having this big fight. The twins are both here, Ronan and Rowan. They're trying to save these constructs, and the whole thing is that Krillix had basically entrapped this Sun Eater in this armor that lets him control it, and he had him defend the Will of Olgren until it was time to come collect it. And now we're getting this big fight paying off, and there's some really fun stuff in here with this idea that people who are descendants of Superman like sometimes doubt that he was ever real, because like, are we really that important? Are we really that special? Like, is it possible that someone that good could ever have existed? But like, it was a moment of like, you know, Rowan like willing to sacrifice herself to try and take out the Sun Eater, and it's this big kind of moment of like, oh, in this moment where she realizes she's willing to do this to save everyone, she realizes that Superman must exist, because this is like the Superman in her coming out kind of thing. Like, I was like, okay, I'm liking how big and epic that feels, and this idea of the lineage of Superman meaning something.
Well, I love that, and then just who they are differently and how they were a team, right? Her and her brother, they were the Flamebird and Nightwing of their time. So when she does this, when she makes that decision that this is what she's gonna go do, she has this hug with her brother, and her brother goes, "I love you, Flamebird," and she goes, "I love you, Nightwing," and then she says truth and justice, and then like we're just hitting all the Kryptonian type stuff, and it feels good. Like, it does feel like this mythic type thing where they are getting wound up by the myth of Superman. When I say wound up, I mean like inspired, right? It's their reason for action, right? We got to live up to this type thing, and I love it.
And then Superman picks up a floating island construct and smashes it into the Sun Eater to break the armor. And then Krillix says, "You fool! You've just let that Sun Eater escape. Now it's like, you know, free to do whatever." And Superman actually gets teleported with the Sun Eater to some other part of space. Yeah. But when they're left behind, they're like, "Oh, the Sun Eater took the ring that Rowan was using, the Darkstar ring. Like, she doesn't have that anymore." But because this was all, you know, her protecting these constructs, and these are all sort of Lantern-based things, and they're at Jordan's Crossing, as they call it as well at one point. Or Stuart, not Jordan's Crossing. Stuart's Crossing, not Jordan's Crossing.
Stuart's.
I'm not that Green Lantern, the other one that was actually involved in this stuff. Basically, like, there's like a body or like a statue holding like a Green Lantern ring, and it basically says, you know, you've just overcome great fear, and she effectively gets accepted to a new Lantern Corps, like a new version of the Green Lantern Corps. So we get a whole like her getting the green ring. So we get a big full page spread where she's got the Superman S, but she's glowing green. It's like a whole thing. It's like, oh, okay, this is kind of neat that we're tying this back into Green Lantern stuff.
It's really cool. Yeah, so, I love when the super characters end up with Green Lantern stuff. Like, there was a right after Infinite Crisis where Superman had lost his powers, Hal brings him a ring to try to, you know, like, maybe this will recharge you. And it's, you know, they try to make a construct of Superman, right? But Clark's able to, but he just makes him of Clark Kent because that's who he is. He's come to terms with. And it's something that's always stuck out to me. And here, her getting this, you know, she's the lantern in the dark, and she's got the S shield on, but she's covered in green. And I was like, it's a good image. Like, I love it.
Yeah, and then, you know, the end of the issue is like, you know, some like space pirates or whoever they are, you know, they're talking about seeing this thing appear in the distance, which is Superman and like all this stuff from the other place. And there's the thing there, either that or they're seeing the aftermath of the battle before they disappear. But either way, the reveal here is they've got like a prisoner, and it's one of the kids. It's Otho Ra, the girl, and she's like, "Oh, my father's coming. Like, I'm Starchild of the House of El. Like, you know, my father's coming to get me." So we've revealed one of the missing kids. So they're not together; they've been separated, and that's that. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, this is. You know, I said last time that like I'm enjoying this well enough when I'm reading it, and this issue in particular had some really cool big moments with all the fighting with the Sun Eater, and I love the Ronan stuff. But it's definitely not measuring up to like War World Saga or like even post War World Saga and like in Johnson's Action Comics for me. Yeah,
it's there, but it's not as concentrated. Like, I felt like that him doing War World Saga, he had something to say about Superman and about his place in the world and all this other stuff. And here he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna do like a high fantasy book set in space with Superman.
Yeah, and it feels like there's so many like elements to it, like so many characters that are relatively new, so many like places that are relatively new, that I don't think it all has as much weight as like the stuff from before. No. Is how I'm feeling. So like it's still good, but it's definitely like you know, it's fun to read. I like getting into here and seeing all these things and just the whole lore he builds around the Sun Eater. Like its name was Tula Ram, and it was worshipped by death cults because it was the end of everything. And then Krillix, you know, had imprisoned it in the armor of a Promethean giant. I was like, yeah, we're cooking with some of this stuff. You know, and like even before that, it was abandoned.
Sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, it was abandoned by all the other Sun Eaters. So when Krillix found it, it was on its own in a system, just consuming what was left of the system, kind of thing. Yeah, there's some cool stuff there. Like, there's definitely some fun moments in here that I like. I will say though, out of a lot of the books we read though, this is one that I do sometimes take a minute to remember what the hell was happening last issue, because like I started this and I'm like,
me too.
Like, what was going on last issue exactly? Because I like this one for whatever reason. This one's a bit more of a struggle than everything else.
Yeah, it always feels like there's been 3 months in between, and it's only been the typical 4 weeks, because I gotta really kick it into high gear. But again, when I'm reading it, like, we get to the end here, and they're not Ravagers, but they're very much coded like the Ravagers from the Guardians movies. And they're talking about stuff with the new gods, right? It was Isaiah's belt, and it goes, oh, Isaiah's belt just dragged in another Sun Eater, and then they're talking about, they're charting for Seraphim. So we're getting all this new god language in here. I was like, oh, where are we going with this? Like, because we're far away. Like, are we near the source wall? Are we here? Because we're starting to get the aspects of Olgren, like the whole back matter gets into all the different ones. And, it's just, I like that Johnson has a kind of free reign to tell the story, because it's set so far in the future and with all these new characters, and, they're his characters from more, like Ulthol and Osul. Like, Superman's the only one that's not at this point. So I'm just enjoying the ride, Yeah.
So yeah, what were you giving a Book of Kal-El issue 5?
I'm gonna say, I feel like 8's too much, but 7.5's not enough. So I guess I'll leave it a little bit wanting more, and I'll go 7.5.
Yeah, I'm just going straight 7. Like, it's good. Like, I'm enjoying it more than GSA certainly, but I also don't think it's up there with the best of what Johnson's done on Superman by any stretch. So that's that. Batman, Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia, issue 2. Gabriel Hardman writing and on art. And his art's great. There's a whole chase here with Green Arrow and some trucks on the snow and the ice that's just fantastic. With Oliver's like putting like trap arrows down to flip trucks, or like arrows that sort of hook onto the truck and then hook into the ice and all that stuff. Beautiful stuff.
I'm going, I can't believe that worked.
So Questions like in the like slave labor part of the camp, investigating that. Oliver's investigating up top. He's been chased by Batman, and Batman's like saying, hey Ollie, let's just talk about this and whatever. And Oliver keeps saying things like, oh, you're working for them, Batman? You're on their payroll? And he's like, I'm not working for them. I'm Batman. I'm independent. I'm just trying to look into what's going on here. I will say, because we are seeing, like, as the reader, we are seeing all the stuff that the Question's seeing underneath, with like all these like people who are being forced to work, and like they're not allowed to leave until they've like worked X number of hours and stuff like that. It does make Batman look a bit of an idiot until the end of the issue, where he just isn't believing what Oliver's telling him. And I'm like, you're going to have and obviously by the time we do see like everyone being like marched out towards the end of the issue because of what's going on, and it looks like a camp, like a prison camp, where they've got guns pointed at all these people who are lined up in rows, and then Batman's like, okay, you know what? I've seen enough. We have to stop this place. And I'm like, I feel like you could have just gotten to that conclusion a lot earlier, Batman. So that'd be maybe my one critique, is that it feels like Batman's been oddly stubborn about not... Like, I feel like Batman usually sniffs out the worst in people immediately. Yeah. But for some reason here, he's just like, no, I'm just here to investigate this one thing because of this terrorist group. That's all I'm investigating.
I feel like it's out of necessity too to have him have a conflict with Green Arrow through this issue.
Yeah.
You know, where he's like being willfully ignorant about everything because I got to figure out what's going on. I can't be distracted.
But it feels a little like a character though. Like, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely stories you can tell me where Batman like misses something or he's ignorant to something, but there's usually like a good, like it'll be like a storytelling thing or a character thing where like, oh, he's too focused on what's happening with, I don't know, like Selina, right? Selina's in trouble, so he's ignoring the signs that something else is happening, or it would say that he cares a lot about Selina. That's what it's telling you as a story. I don't know if the story here is actually telling me there's a reason why he's being stubborn or not seeing signs of something bad. Because the guy that's like brought him here, this rich guy, is so clearly a villain. Like, he's so like villainous in every way he speaks and everything he does, the way he's talking about the future and the new world order and all that. Like, he's so clearly a villain. We're building these floating cities and yada yada. I don't know. Anyway,
but not for everybody. For the highest bidder, and it's like, Bruce, you would, if this was Lex Luthor, you'd be punching him in the face.
Yes.
You know, like just because he's not a supervillain. You know, like. But I really loved all the stuff with the question. I almost wish it was just a question Green Arrow book, because I feel like those two starting at two different points and then meeting in the middle, I think that'd be a really good story. I feel like Batman's almost superfluous in it, you know, where I almost felt like him not being here doesn't change, or him being here doesn't change anything throughout this issue. Right?
For the I mean, there's a couple of good scenes with Batman, but like, yeah, it would work without him for the most part. Like, he adds to the chase scene at the start because you've got him flying in the Batwing. The one scene that I did like, though, is he keeps saying that he wants unfettered access, and he eventually either gets it or just says, F it, I'm going to go take it myself. And this guard's like, hey, do you have like a pass to be in here? And Batman just scowls at him. That did make me laugh. Like, that was a funny moment, you know, for the character. So
are you going to impede this investigation? And then he just keeps going.
It's like, okay, like that's fine. So that's you know, whatever. But yeah, like the question stuff where he's like seeing the horrible work conditions and the guards treating everyone poorly, but then seeing like the resistance has got like some really smart plans about how like, oh, in the chaos of this moment that they'll go into their secret entrance to go and plan something or whatever. That, you know, that's fun. But we also find out later on as well that this group that they like the name they've been given isn't really a name they picked or something that they're trying to organize. They're just trying to resist what's happening here. But the billionaires created this name because he wants a group to blame and say, hey, this group's a group of terrorists, blah, blah, blah. But that's not really what's been happening. They do try and assassinate the billionaire, to be fair. I suppose that is an act of some kind. But you know what I mean? It's like, we see how horrific these conditions are. Like, no one would blame anyone for trying to kill Hitler during, you know, 1944 or whatever. So... yeah, you kind of get it, but yeah. So I mean, the art's gorgeous though throughout. Like, it's so, and you know, like, I love how dark and moody all the stuff in the sort of the work camp, like underground stuff is, because it's all very moody and shadowy. And then you go to the 2-page spread of Oliver firing arrows like on the snow, so it's like all bright white with the green, and it pops really well. You know, the art is gorgeous, and the art is definitely elevating the entire thing for me. Like a full notch up from like what it would be otherwise. But it flowed really well,
and it's very moody, and it's very moody even in the light scenes, just because of the heavy inks.
Yeah,
you know, and I feel like it's hitting that grim and gritty era of the 80s, which I think it's aiming for. Right, that was in the solicits. That's what it's trying to return to, and it does. It feels like Longbow Hunters and the Batman of that era, that was more grounded, like Frank Miller, kind of, and the art just really speaks to that because of all of it. And I think the scene that gets me is the when they blow up the crane, and we get that action sequence where Oliver saves the billionaire, right? He pulls him out of harm's way and whatever. I think that was really well done.
Yeah, and obviously when Question first meets this group, they don't trust him and they like tie him up. But then when obviously he uses his last smoke bomb to get them out of Dodge, and they escape through like a sewer system, which again, all that stuff looks great as well. that's like a big thing. But yeah, I do love the moment though where like, Oliver's done what he's been doing, like they're escaping in the underground part. This is when everyone's getting rounded up outside because of this assassination attempt. And Batman's like doing research inside, but he looks over at the computer monitor that's got the security camera on it, and he sees this happening outside. And that you can sort of see it in his face the moment where he realizes, oh shit, Green Arrow was right. This place is a slave labor camp. How have I missed this? Okay, I got to go be Batman about this. So yeah, the final issue is, Batman going out and, first he goes to the billionaire and tries to like, ask him questions about what's going on.
Yeah.
But the end of the issue is Batman showing up with it, because Oliver's been asking ever since he got arrested after the snow chase, like, can I have my bow back? Can I have my my stuff back?
Yeah.
And the final page is Batman showing up out of nowhere and handing him his bow back and saying, okay, we need to stop this. So all three of them are together, as is the lady who's leading the resistance. She's been along for the ride with Question by this point. So
yeah. It's series was the name of it. He goes, there is no series. Rucka calls us that. He's fitting us into his narrative. So so he's that's what you're talking about the name. But yeah, also the billionaire knows that Batman's Bruce Wayne.
That's right, he calls him Bruce,
Yep, he goes, we're all on the same team, Bruce. And you're like, oh yeah, he ain't making it out of this. he's gonna slip and fall into the ice.
I mean, this is like a Black Label book, right? So it doesn't really matter. Like, it's not continuity, I suppose. But yeah, he's probably going to snuff it by the end in some way or another.
Right? Like, there's no way. But yeah, it's really good. I don't think it reached the heights of the first issue where we got some of that more like the Question, grim and gritty investigation kind of stuff. The kind of 3-pronged attack.
I really liked all the stuff
kinda,
with him, like him being in the work camp though, and sort of observing what's happening. I did actually really like all that stuff. So I don't know. For me, it's kind of 50-50 with the first one. I would say, it's not perfect. It's not without its faults. Like I said, the Batman side of it's a little bit strange to a point. But I admittedly though, his reaction of seeing like on the monitors, oh wait, this looks like a prison camp. Oh no. What I've made a huge mistake. He goes full Job.
Well, also like him going, Oliver's never gonna let me hear the end of this.
Yeah.
Too. There's that vibe too. But yeah, they play off of each other so well. I do like the dynamic between Oliver Queen and Bruce Wayne, because they should be so similar and they're just not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the story is good. Maybe with a couple of things in it, but I think the art, like, really is propping it up. I do wonder if at a certain point it was meant to be a book that was just Green Arrow in Question, but it was like, hey, this will sell way better if Batman's in it, and put his name first. Yeah. It might be the reason why it is the way it is, but there is good Batman moments in it. It just kind of feels a little bit weird how he's like not listening to Oliver when what Oliver's saying is so horrific. It's like, you should at least want to check this out, like at the very least. But hey,
I was like, you sure about that? I don't know, man. You're never right about things. I don't know if I should listen to you.
That's all it really comes down to. But I mean, obviously it flowed really well, because it's obviously a longer issue. It's like 30 something pages, but it went in nice and quick because it does flow well and the art's so good. So yeah. What are you giving Batman Green Arrow Question Arcadia issue 2?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
I think that's a fair score. I'm going to agree with that. 8 out of 10. Yeah, flaws for sure, but
and there's only 3 of these, right?
I think so. That's definitely felt like the cliffhanger getting into the final third. Yeah. Okay. So
I don't remember if it was 3 or 4. So
I won't mind if there's a fourth one if I'm misremembering it, but it feels like we're getting to the final act. But that'll take us out the part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favourite panel/moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and of course top 5 books. So Matt, what is your panel/moment of the week?
All right, so I think we can all guess what it's going to be, but I'm going to talk some other ones before I get to that one. In Absolute Superman, when he's reading to Roz, and Roz is just constantly hating on it and giving him thing, but Superman persists anyways. I really like that whole vibe. In Batman, the first chase sequence where with the motorcycles, and he basically tells Dr. Zeller to hold on, right? He takes it off of the freeway into Little Tokyo. I thought that, Jiménez drew the hell out of that. And in Arc M, I thought the reveal of Jack Doe stabbed in the neck and buried behind the bricks. I thought that was such a good reveal, right? So while all those are good, I'm still me, and I have a deep love for Barbara Ann Minerva.
Of course.
So her ridding herself of the curse of Urskatega is my moment of the week.
Yeah, spoil for choice, because I love a few things this week, moments-wise. I think the contenders for me are probably a couple of the big reveals in Arkham, but I would also throw in the ending of Batman, with the Damien, blowing the whole thing wide open in front of Dr. Zeller. But I actually think what I'm going to pick is probably Joe being a badass and absolute Green Lantern and like pulling the bullets out and then just like stabbing him in the eye with the pliers. Like for me, that's just like, yeah, like, it's just a badass
Hell
moment.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with that. But yeah, there was some stiff competition this week, for sure. That's that. For cover this week, I was looking while you were talking about Poison Ivy. I like having one book that I didn't read just so that it gives me time to look at the covers. It's what I use that time for.
So I usually do that when you're talking about Patreon books. So I get it.
Yes. So I mean, looking at what's on offer here, there's some good stuff. I don't know if anything jumped out at me as being the clear winner. There's like a variant for Book of L, which is by Lucio Perillo, which looks quite nice. It's a painted looking cover of Superman with the red eyes. Gabriel Hardman's cover for Arcadia looks very nice, pretty simple but nice. There's a nice Declan Shelby variant for Absolute Green Lantern, which is just kind of this big green cover, which is really simple. It looks good. I think there's a lot of decent Batman covers. There's a Jiménez one with the blueprints. Yeah. There's a Christmassy one where Bruce is in a jumper, a sweater. There's like a date one by Julian Totino, which I think looks kind of fun. But I think my pick, bizarrely, the book that maybe disappointed the most in Batgirl, there is a variant by Jorge Fornes of Cass upside down on a yellow background, which just looks really cool. But it's got a really good composition. Like I think out of compositions wise this week, it's the one that caught my eye the most. It's just looking like a cool cover. So I'm going with that. What you got?
Yeah. I figured you would be going for that one as I was looking through some of these. Absolute Superman has one, and there's one that I really liked until I clicked on it, and it makes Absolute Superman almost look like a demon, right? It's the black, it's the Ferreyra, and it's all black, and he's got like his arms and legs and the cape make like fire. And I thought that was really cool, but kind of not the vibe that you would want with that character. Poison Ivy has the Danny variant that's that Christmassy, where she's snowboarding and it looks like Nightwing and Red Hood are in the background. I haven't mentioned an Ivy cover in a while, so there's that.
I don't know why, but for some reason when you said snowboarding,
then,
my brain just processed it as waterboarding for a second, and I went, wait, what? Oh, snowboarding. That makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, she would waterboard. It is on track with where that character's been. My runner-up, though, is there is a Leslie Lee, also known as Lyrics variant for JSA, that has Hippolyta, and almost like a pinup kind of style that I think is really, really nice. That's good. But my cover of the week is going to be from Batman, and it is that Tedesco cover, the Julian Totino Tedesco of the date night, and it looks like they're at like a Japanese restaurant. And then the art behind them is like Batman fighting a bunch of ninjas, but it's like the manga version of Batman. And it's very moody. It kind of hits that date night vibe that the issue was playing with. So that's my pick.
Yeah. All right. What you got for best art of the week?
Man, this one is really, really tough because, I mean, Hardman is far and away really good. But then Cheetah and Cheshire for Nicola Scott. Guidry for JSA is real good. Jiménez is there. I think I think I'm going to give it to Cheetah and Cheshire with Nicola Scott. Thought everything in there with the expressions, the way that everything plays out with the action. It's weirdly understated, but still it works. So yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, I feel like for me this is really, there's a lot of good art this week. I think the only art that sticks out to me though is being next level. Well, maybe that's not true, but I think I'm going with Hardman, I guess is what I'm saying. Like Gabriel Hardman really sticks out here. It's just been really stunning to look at. But that's not to say there's not other great art this week, because there was like solid art from artists that I didn't really know before, in both Hixson and Kotian or Kotian. But then Ferreyra was good on Absolute Superman. Jiménez was great on Batman. Like there was a lot of good stuff this week. It's just, and obviously Nicola Scott's always great, but like I think the Hardman art was the one that was feeling a bit more special to me this week. So I'm going to go with that. All right, top 5 books, Matt. On you go.
All right, number 1 is going to be Batman. Number 2 is going to be Cheetah and Cheshire. Number 3 is going to be Absolute Superman. Number 4 is going to be, what's number 4? Number 4 is going to be Arcadia. Number 5 is going to be Arkham.
All right, my number 1 is Batman. My number 2, I think, is the Arkham special. Number 3, we'll go with Absolute Green Lantern. Number 4, Absolute Superman. Number 5, Cheetah and Cheshire. I think, yeah. I mean, I might swap that on Superman. Maybe not. I don't know. The point is, I had a lot of stuff rated very close together. Notably, after those 5, there's a little bit of a dip. To stuff that didn't make my top 5, but very good top 5 this week. So nice stuff. But yeah, I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. Next week we have DC KO issue 3. We have Action Comics 1094. We have Batman and Robin 29, Aquaman 13, Supergirl issue 9, Green Lantern Corps issue 12. We have the Wonder Woman Black and Gold 2026 special issue 1, and there's also Court Children of the Round Table issue 5, and then some facsimile editions as you do. So it's actually a very light week, all things considered, especially for us since we've both dropped Aquaman and Supergirl. So we actually only have 5 new books, including the Black and Gold special, which is the sort of thing we wouldn't always read, but I think we have so few books next week that we'll quite happily check it out and see how it is. And obviously some of the stuff we do monthly, for Patreon and stuff, we'll probably record some of that next week. I'll do some Patreon books. We'll have some stuff, but both next week and the week after are kind of light, actually. So we'll squeeze in our the Patreon vote winner. We'll do that next week and things like that. But get a little bit of a light month before all the new Vertigo books start rolling out in February, and then the next level stuff starts rolling out in March. So, which is probably why it ends up it's a quiet month. It's probably been a lot of minis and stuff, because even Cheetah and Cheshire, that was a final issue this week. So a lot of things are sort of ending, and we're just about to start doing new stuff. But there's a little bit of a in between where there's less books for a bit. So yeah, and obviously Birds of Prey's ended. That's another one that we would have normally read, I think, this week. But so there you go. That's what's coming next week from DC Comics. Like I said, the annual is coming soon. It will very likely not be before the next episode. So I'll reiterate once again, you definitely have the full next week to go and vote on the form to put in what your favorite DC books of the year are and so on. There's a bunch of questions. You can answer as many as you like that are in there. But again, that link, I should remember to put it in the description of this episode, but it's also over on the Discord, it's on the Patreon, and it's on the post section of the YouTube channel, Comics From The Multiverse. So you can find it in any of those places. So make sure you get your votes in. And Connor he is heavily threatening his appearance on the annual episode. So also, there's a question at the end of the form that is just kind of like, hey, any other comments you want to make about DC in 2025, or even just comments about this show? And there was one comment that just said, keep Connor away, which made me laugh hysterically for quite some time.
We try. It takes It takes the will of Holgren, but we do it.
Well, because I put the question, or if you want to say anything about the show, like a suggestion or something you want to see change, or it's anything. Basically, looking for praises. But I did put in brackets. Yes, we know people would like Connor to be back full time, but there's not much we can do about that. So I'm just saying that up front. So it made me laugh that someone specifically said, "No, keep Connor away. We don't want Connor.
Keep Connor away."
So that made me laugh.
That's funny.
Yes. So yes. Anyway, that's the show, everyone. That's been Comics From The Multiverse. You can, of course, support the show and help keep it coming by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Get the show a little bit early, get access to that monthly vote, and get access to the classic monthly reviews. Right now, we're doing Batgirl Year 1 every month. We've done, 4 issues of that? 5 issues of that? Some of that. So you can find those there. Otherwise, though, like, subscribe, give us 5 stars in your podcast app. All that usual stuff helps out, of course, a bunch. But thanks for spending 2025 to us. And this is the year we hit the 10-year mark, as well as episode 500. Those are things that are coming up. They'll be pretty close together, obviously, because of the number of weeks in a month, or weeks in a year, I should say. But so we'll hit 500, and then we'll hit the 10th anniversary a little bit later.
This week has felt like months, which is true.
So yes, look forward to that. But yes, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.